public radio is ready for capitalism.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, May 14th, 2015. Time once again for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 721.
This is No Agenda.
Propagating the FHRITP meme and broadcasting live from the Crockpot Condo in FEMA Region 6. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And foraging in the forest of the Pacific Northwest, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
You're no longer in the Tower of Terror.
No, I'm in the foraging forest.
The foraging forest of Port Angeles, Washington?
Yes.
Nice. So it's sex week up there.
It is rain week.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what that was all about.
Okay, it has a lot of it doesn't rain in California, so it actually took me a while to what's this? What is somebody spitting? What's going on?
Huh? Oh, the rain. Okay. We've had nonstop rains now in our second, well, not entirely nonstop, but our second week of rain. They expect it to go on for another week here. It's just rain. We have flash floods every day.
I thought Texas was always in a perpetual state of drought.
No. It's been, so this is the end of our second week. We're going into a third week.
They're always complaining in Texas when it rains. Why don't they set up cisterns?
I don't think anyone's really complaining. Not really. We're just, we're a little tired of the wetness, but it's not, we're happy. Lake Travis was up a foot, which is a pretty big deal for us. So yeah, what are you doing up there? Just hanging out? What's the deal? Is it someone's birthday?
Actually, Eric's birthday's coming up.
Oh.
I don't know if I'll be here for that.
Before Sunday, or?
No, we went up because because Puddle's pity party. Mimi insisted that I go.
Wait. Puddle's pity party?
Yeah.
Who is Puddles?
Puddles
is a dog?
Puddles is the singing clown.
Okay.
Who puts on a very unique, I would call it maybe a lounge act. I'm not sure.
And he must be really good if you went up there just for him.
Well, I was told he was really good.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen it?
I also need to come up here and get the printer working.
That's
another issue.
You're actually this is marriage, man.
I'm tech support, long
tech
distance.
support. That's what husbands do. We're tech support. I'm sure there are some wives.
We're seeing this Puddles, the character. This guy's extremely popular. He sells out in 2 hours wherever he goes.
Huh.
It's like, pretty big venues.
Interesting.
And, if he comes through Texas, I would recommend going to see him. The guy he's got a tremendous voice, or kind of a Tom Jones.
Well, if you went up there under the ruse of tech support to go see him, then it must be good. That's an endorsement right there.
So I want to get this one thing out of the way.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, there's a girl who can touch her eyeball with her tongue.
Really? And you're dating her, or what is the deal?
Oh, she cheats. I just watched it. I haven't seen it before. She just got a long tongue.
This is what obsesses you? I mean, of all the things going on?
Mimi told me she saw it. Of course,
Facebook. Yeah, that's where she saw it, of course.
Addict.
Yeah.
And she says, you got to see this. And I said, I'm too busy. I was working on the show.
Right.
And then I said, well, maybe we'll do it on the show.
And when she said, you got to see this, did she really think that was going to bring value to your life?
Well, you know the way Facebook people are.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I did see something on Facebook.
You're asking me that question?
Yeah, I did see something on Facebook yesterday, which I'll bring up now. When people say, all right, that's it, I'm leaving Facebook, I'm closing my account. It is the adult equivalent of I'm running away from home. We all know you'll be back. We all know you're just doing it for attention and for people to feel bad. Oh no, come back, please. Don't leave our little club.
Well,
yeah,
I'm not in that club.
No, I know. I salute you for that. I stay in. I will say I find increasingly more articles that are of use for the show. Of course, this is what Facebook has been planning for a while, where I guess the New York Times is now all in with Facebook.
It's horrible.
That's the end of the Times. Do they have any idea that this is dumb? That they don't control their own distribution now?
I don't know what they're thinking. I think they can probably always, take their marbles and go home. That's what they assume. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Anyway, I'm very happy. We had a big news event, which gives us the opportunity to play a jingle.
All aboard, train's good, plane's bad.
Woo-hoo! CNN has not stopped. They have not stopped with this.
Yeah, that would be right.
It's unconscionable. But I figured out why. It didn't take long. To see what all the agendas were. Now, whether this is,
I have a different one
for the train.
Yeah,
for the train crash.
But I want to hear yours first. But mine's a little different, and it's just a coincidence that I even stumbled on it.
Okay.
So, what do you think's going on besides?
Well, look. I'm an aviation guy. I'm not a train guy, so I don't really.
Same thing. One's on wheels.
It's not the same thing. They're in direct competition. I did catch a little bit of, the same messaging from the three big networks, CBS, NBC, ABC, because the timing of this event, however coincidental.
Coincidence? I think not.
Was immediately turned into, this.
Some of Amtrak's equipment has been charitably described as antique. But despite that, a House panel today cut Amtrak's budget even more.
The 250 million people who ride these rails each year pass through tunnels and over bridges that are more than 100 years old. And look it. Amtrak estimates that maintaining and upgrading the Northeast Corridor would cost
That's ageist, by the way. Ageist on bridges.
$2.6 billion per year. But Congress provided just $1.4 billion this year for all of Amtrak's operations from coast to coast. Next year, funding will drop by nearly 20%, despite an attempt by House Democrats today to boost it.
That was CBS. Here's NBC.
In the meantime, there is a political element to all this. Hours after the tragedy here in Philadelphia, the fight over funding for Amtrak flared up.
The shock and tragedy of what happened in Philadelphia made a long-standing battle over Amtrak funding more raw and emotional. Democrats wanted to see a big increase in funding, and in fact, they look at the accident and say it's an example of the need to improve our infrastructure. Republicans, who always argue that Amtrak needs to turn a profit and not rely so much on taxpayers, would not budge.
And finally, ABC.
Just hours after the derailment, a political headline in Washington tonight. A battle over funding for Amtrak. House Republicans voting to cut Amtrak's budget by $251 million, citing spending limits, asking to see the crash report before they reconsider.
My analysis, Republicans kill people. And Joe Biden finally has a platform to run his potential campaign on.
Yeah.
Because he's from Pennsylvania and he's Mr. Amtrak. That's all I could come up with.
Well, that's the logic of the whole thing. I mean, but I think that's all been reverse engineered. They had this disaster. They can't seem to determine where. Well, let's play. I think we have a Democracy Now! Clip of this. Well, we don't. I can just say it. We don't need it.
I don't mind the Amtrak wreck clip.
Yeah, right. Play that.
At least 6 people have been killed and dozens wounded after an Amtrak train bound for New York City derailed just outside of Philadelphia. 8 people remain in critical condition, and not everyone on board has been accounted for. The train had departed from Washington, D.C., carrying more than 240 people. 6 cars overturned, with sections of the train so mangled people had to be rescued with the aid of hydraulic tools. Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter called it, quote, an absolute disastrous mess, saying, I've never seen anything like this in my life. The cause remains unknown.
Okay, your analysis.
So I got to the cause remains unknown, and then I started thinking about what possibly is going on. Is this possibly a protest of some sort, kind of in the same vein as the bombing in Oklahoma years ago? Because of the Waco situation that took place where they attacked Waco. And just by coincidence, nobody's made this connection before, but this is the 30-year anniversary of the Philadelphia bombing of Move. And we can play the Move Philly clip.
Move, okay.
Today marks the 30th anniversary of a massive police operation in Philadelphia that culminated in the helicopter bombing of the headquarters of a radical group known as Move. The fire from the attack incinerated 6 adults and 5 children and destroyed 65 homes. Despite 2 grand jury investigations and a commission finding the top officials were grossly negligent, no one from city government was criminally charged. Here is how the bombing was initially reported in Philadelphia.
I know nothing about this, John. I mean, I'm maybe not old enough, but I just don't know anything about it.
No, you know nothing about it because at the time it was suppressed ever since. But they actually bombed with a bomb, with 2 bombs actually, it turns out, as this neighborhood. And then the police department and the fire department let 65 homes burn to the ground before they did anything.
Wow. Let me continue.
On WCAU radio.
I've just been advised that we have new videotape of the episode that apparently we think ended the move situation tonight, the dropping of an incendiary device. And let's take a careful look at this, 5:27 p.m.
Wait a minute. This was dropped from an airplane?
Yes, we bombed with this. Yes, it was a helicopter. But it was a bomb that was.
Wait a minute. So was this Army? Was it FBI? Who?
It was the bomb was from the FBI, they believe, and it was the local police who commandeered a state police chopper to do this.
And then what kind of bomb did they throw out?
C4.
Excellent.
State police helicopter drops it. There is the explosion. As you can see, a very dramatic explosion that occurs 30 seconds and really rips into the move compound. There you see the bunker, which soon will go up in flames. And that was the explosion close up. Now, if there's anybody there, standing there, it's obvious they couldn't survive that explosion.
That was WCAU TV, actually. We saw some video there. MOVE was a Philadelphia-based radical movement dedicated to black liberation and a back-to-nature lifestyle. It was founded by John Africa, and all its members took on the surname Africa. In 2010, Ramona Africa, the sole adult survivor of the attack, told Democracy Now! What happened as the bomb was dropped on her house.
In terms of the bombing, after being attacked the way we were, first with 4 deluge hoses by the fire department, and then tons of tear gas, and then being shot at, the police admit to shooting over 10,000 rounds of bullets at us in the first 90 minutes. There was a lull. It was quiet for a little bit. And then, without any warning at all, 2 members of the Philadelphia Police Department's bomb squad got in a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter and flew over our home and dropped a satchel containing C4, a powerful military explosive that no municipal police department has. They had to get it from the federal government, from the FBI.
Bomb them, and bomb them again.
Excellent. I had no idea about this episode.
Yeah, and this is the anniversary, or it was about the time of within a day.
Do you think it's related to the train? Is that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I don't have any proof of that. I just think the coincidence, is a little too much of one.
Huh. Well,
and and this was a mess of a train wreck. I mean, this normally they always have an immediate explanation. You just derail for no reason.
Right. Unless I think they're trying to find, the media is certainly trying a way to connect it to ISIS. They just don't have a. Although there were, I had this.
That would be funny.
I had one article. Yes. Here's your coincidence. This article is from, I believe, May 8th. So it's a couple of days ago. ABC News. FBI warns of train derailment threat on May 8th. Devices that could be used by terrorists to derail trains are being stolen from rail facilities around the country, the FBI warned.
Why are there devices to derail trains being stored in the first place by the railroad companies? This sounds like a bogus story right off the bat. Go on.
Yeah, well, it says, and again, this is before this happened.
Yeah. Well.
9 derailers, a piece of railroad equipment used to derail train cars for safety purposes in rail yards, have been stolen recently.
Huh.
And how does a derailer work? Does it?
I don't know. It probably goes over the track. The train goes up and flips. Probably got one on both sides of the track, and one flips it lifts one side more than the other. I have no idea. Or just moves it off the track. I have no idea. We should look it up.
Well, that's what I found to be a coincidence.
Well, they could have been, some of these radicals could have, somebody stole the derailers.
That would be the story. I've been waiting for that story to get out.
It's too close to the actual derailment, though. That's what's bothersome. It's almost as though the FBI stole the things and they're behind it.
Yeah. Just the question, of course, is why, and somehow you can relate this to the MOVE bombing.
No, I just think the move bombing was a coincidence. Insofar as timing, this is the only thing that is coincident with the derailment, both happening in Philadelphia. I mean, if it was someplace else, I'd think differently, but it was in the same area, and it's not unusual for people to seek revenge.
Right?
Somebody's kid was killed, or there's a lot of.
Yeah, you always want to know who was on the vessel.
That's the other thing. Yeah, we don't have that information yet.
I think there's one VP of some bank, but I don't.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to target anybody in a train. Most people get injured.
Yeah.
Unless they derail the train, there's an assassin on board and shoots the guy.
But
the confusion.
But with the Republicans, signing this, cutting Amtrak's funding, that was extremely coincidental. That happened. There was actually a funny clip from what's Tim Russert's kid's name? Luke Russert, and he was on. I don't know. I think this was CNN, and of course, we all know we have to hate the Republicans. But he takes it one step further.
But I'll point out one example that I find shocking. You're originally from Washington, D.C., Alex. Metro is a service that a lot of Republican staffers here on Capitol Hill desperately use to get in and out of the Capitol. House Republicans want to cut the budget for Metro in half. Remember, in 2009, Metro had a deadly accident. Over 9 people were killed. They want to cut that budget in half. So there really is no desire to necessarily help rail unless, even if it's beneficial to their staff or even if it's beneficial to people who work for them, because of this overarching idea of it's not in my backyard, I don't necessarily care.
Well, and
at this moment.
Fiscal hawkishness is real.
Yeah,
Indeed.
It's real.
Indeed.
It's real. Republicans will kill their own staffers.
Fiscal hawkish, I like.
Yeah,
and I also like the way he describes desperately use.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like out of desperation, because that indicates these Republicans underpay their staff.
Yes.
Because they have to crawl to the subway to desperately use it.
And they're willing to kill them. They don't care. They don't care.
It's a good one.
Yeah. We'll keep our eye on this. I mean, obviously, CNN sees the value of this for ratings. But otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. So it could go on for quite a while. And in fact, if I were CNN, if I knew some things, I'd sit on it. I'd wait a little bit, drag it out until we'll see the quarterlies go down. And
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and then bam, bring out some breaking new news. I just found it annoying, but there was nothing else to see. Pretty much across all networks, but CNN was without a doubt the worst. A couple things. First, a couple of follow-ups from the previous show. We were talking about the embryos with that douche-knuckle Republican guy who was suing the screwy actress. Vergara, Sofia Vergara,
and the Republican.
Apparently, and I think it's true, browsing through the medical journals last night, that all fetuses start out in the female form. So for him to say, these two girls in that particular stage, he's correct.
That's interesting. I never followed up at all on that.
Yeah, and a couple of people emailed me about that, so I appreciate that. But also, with us being from the future, from the near future in this case, Nigel Farage withdraws his resignation as predicted. I thought it would be September, but no, 2 days later. Oh, no, I'm withdrawing. I'm coming back.
Yeah, that's what these know. I guess the mechanism is I quit. And if everybody goes, okay, then you quit.
Yeah.
But they went, no, we need you.
That's what he wanted.
There's a bunch of tweets about it. Yeah. Oh, he can't. He's the one responsible. One guy said, I've given the party, there's a tweet. I've given the party £2 million because of Nigel Farage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice.
And so he's back.
Which
is good for us.
Good for the show. Big time. I want to start off with Gitmo Nation East for a moment. Big things happening in the UK with new legislation that has it hasn't been introduced. They're only talking about it. It will be a part of the Queen's speech, according to David Cameron. This is the new counterterrorism extremism bill, which, as far as I know, won't become really available until the 27th when we have the Queen's speech. But David Cameron has already lifted a bit of the veil about what this will be. And again, there we are with our podcastlicense.com. This is going to become pretty useful. I'm reading now from The Guardian, which is kind of the best I could get. The measures would give the police powers to apply to the High Court for an order to limit, quote, harmful activities of an extremist individual. The definition of harmful is to include a risk of public disorder, a risk of harassment, alarm, or distress, or creating a, quote, threat to the functioning of democracy.
Wow.
Wait for it. The aim is to catch not just those who spread or incite hatred on the grounds of gender, race, or religion, but also those, it should be height and age, by the way, but also those who undertake harmful activities for the purpose of overthrowing democracy. They would include a ban on broadcasting and a requirement to submit to the police in advance any proposed publication on the web and social media or in print. So the way I understand this is you get a disruption order from the Queen, and hey, watch out, son. We don't like what you're saying. Then if you want to then post something on Twitter or Facebook, you have to have it approved by der Polizei. Exactly. Now, again,
that's a trend.
Well, we always talk about the UK being the beta test for the rest of the universe. Now,
worked out well for them. We should do it too.
Theresa May, who is the interior person, she's in charge of Homeland Security, the British equivalent of Homeland Security. A fantastic interview of her on BBC Radio 4, which I listen to at night when I go to bed because it's morning. I get kind of I think I pick up a lot of it in the middle of the night. And it's a 12-minute interview.
Hold on a second. You're telling me that you go to bed and you leave the BBC on all night?
Yeah.
This is, I don't know. Let me think about go on.
Well, clearly the sound is getting into my ears. I don't know if my brain, I have weird dreams though.
I would think so.
I wonder why.
I feel so British in my
I tell you how, John. So Theresa May was on BBC 4, Radio 4, and the host, John, I forget his last, good guy, he is trying to get her to explain the definition of extremism, which will be the mitigating factor in this bill where you are, we're going to be restricted from broadcasting. I presume that also includes podcasting, just posting anything on the website or social media without your messaging being approved by the Politikapparatschik. So I thought it was very interesting to just play two clips from this interview where Theresa May is trying to talk about this extremism and the way she and by the way, extremism does have a definition, which is belief in and support for ideas that are very far from what most people consider correct or reasonable, which, by the way, is pretty much everything on this show. If someone listens to it who is all in, not with us.
I would think so, yes.
And she takes this back and tries to explain that she can't necessarily explain extremism, but she can explain what is not extremist behavior, which includes, of course, British values.
First of all, the reason for doing this, John, you talk about tolerance and intolerance. There are people out there.
Well, you recall we read in the EU, European Union documents that tolerance was going to be big on the agenda, that you have to be tolerant. which we probably should look up that definition as well while we're at it.
Sadly, who are seeking to divide us. We are a government of one nation. We want to bring people together to ensure we are living together as one society. But there are those who are trying to promote hatred and intolerance, seeking to divide us into a them and us and undermine our British values. And what we are proposing is a bill which will have certain measures within it, measures such as introducing banning orders for groups and disruption orders for individuals, for those who are out there actively trying to promote this hatred and intolerance, which can lead to division in our society.
This is fantastic.
It is. It's great.
Hey, I hate you, douche.
Okay, pick him up.
Wait a minute.
And undermines our British values. But
British values.
It will be part of a bigger picture, a strategy, which will also has a key part of it, actually promoting our British values, our values of democracy, rule of law, tolerance.
Now, by the way, if this were in the United States, no one would ever question what exactly are British values. Luckily, is the BBC.
And understanding, acceptance of different faiths.
And freedom of speech, an essential prerequisite of a tolerant and decent society. And if you ban groups of people from getting together and talking about the things that worry them about the way our society is heading, don't you become a part of it?
No, well, first of all, I would say that your description of what we're proposing to do is not right.
Well, you're talking about banning certain groups of people getting together.
We're not talking about banning groups of people getting together who are simply talking about problems in society or what they perceive as issues that need to be addressed.
So when do they step over the edge?
We are talking about the extremism of all sorts, Islamist extremism, but also other forms of extremism like neo-Nazism.
Where's climate change denial? That should be extremism pretty soon.
That is seeking to promote hatred, that is seeking to divide our society, that is seeking to undermine the very values that make us a great country to live in, that make us this great pluralistic society.
Having lived in the UK for about 5 years, they might as well arrest everybody I know because they're all racist. They're hatred-filled. Not all, that's an overstatement, but man, oh man, this is
lots.
This is very lots, extremely lots. Or as the marketplace guy would say, gajillions. He said it again the other day. Second clip. So again, we want to know about the line. How do you cross the line into extremism, which again has not been defined by Ms. May?
But the reason that we're doing this is, first of all, because we do need, I think, to ensure that we are together as one society. We are one nation. We are working to ensure
one voice?
Is that speak with the one voice? Is that like a Nazi reference? One nation, speak with one voice.
I have no idea. It is a reference to
something. It's a reference to something, yeah.
There will be different views within that nation. Of course there will be different views.
Indeed.
And nobody is suggesting that different views cannot be expressed.
Yes.
But one of the reasons for looking at this
exactly what
issue
they're saying.
Yeah, you cannot, as long as you're in line with everybody else.
Of extremism is the path down which it can lead people. And what we can see often is that this extremist preaching, this message of hatred, this message of intolerance.
My God, but people should be up in arms about this. You should be able to hate someone. You should be able to divide. It's crazy.
Can actually lead down a path of radicalisation.
And what I'm trying to get you to define is at what point it strays into that area, at what point it doesn't become just a disagreement with you or me or the bloke next door or the woman next door. It becomes something that should worry us to the extent that it should be banned. That's what I'm trying to get at. And
by the way, he tries this 8 or 9 times. It was just boring. Her answers were funny because she never got to the answer, but I just wanted to pick up one.
Does it qualify for being banned?
And obviously, when we introduce the legislation which has these banning orders, one of the tasks in that legislation will be to ensure that we have the definitions properly so that they can... Well, we have a definition of extremism, which we have in our extremism strategy.
But you seem to be saying you'll know it when you see it, which is a bit unsatisfactory.
I'm not saying we know it when we see it.
Pelosi is all over the place.
John, the whole process of introducing legislation in this country is that actually you start off with the principle of what we want to do, which is to ensure that we can promote British values, the values that unite us as a society.
Promoting British values. You can't have legislation to promote British values, can you? Law that says these are our values, and if you don't agree with them, then well, what? You go to jail.
Yes. Yes, you nailed it.
You promote British values in a legalistic sense.
I suspect that there are many people listening to this programme who feel that actually we haven't as a society.
This is the dangerous bit, because of course there are lots of older British citizens who don't understand. They're mad about everything. The country is not the way it used to be, which always happens when you get older. And she's now talking directly to them. These people, of course, also vote and then we'll go out and say, yeah, we're all for this.
Past, being positive enough about the values that unite us as a society.
Forgive me for using the phrase again, but that's a bit woolly, isn't it? Positive enough. I mean, I could run out into the street now, and you couldn't say, look, these are the values we all stand for. Wonderful, wonderful. Somebody else would come along and say, rubbish, I believe in something different. Now, at what point, what I'm really puzzled by is how you get to define the line. You draw the line at which you've crossed over that line, and it's unacceptable, legally unacceptable.
Intelligence work takes place within a strong legal framework. We operate under the rule of law and are accountable for it. In some countries, secret intelligence is used to control their people. In ours, it only exists to protect their freedoms. Protect their freedoms. Protect their freedoms. Protect their freedoms.
You know, this legislation could be solely created just to arrest Nigel Farage. Now I think about it.
I think that's a stretch.
But
I think he's part of the system.
But I really like the getting permission to post on social networks. I think that's fantastic. I
think that's the way it ought to be.
UK is way ahead of the game. Good work. People should be protesting, should be roaming the streets out of pissed offdom.
Well, I think something's up with in the UK is always something's up.
Yeah.
But I had this, I've got this clip, which is about neutrality. There's a thing called neutrality when it comes to the royal family. And the idea is that they will not get involved in public affairs taken care of by the.
Is this about the Prince Charles emails or letters?
Yeah,
okay.
That's what I want to play.
No, I'm glad you looked at that because I didn't.
Because one of the things that seems to be, I think that this is a foreboding. This only reason this is a news story, because to me it's not, is to warn everybody that we're getting an activist monarch coming your way. And he's not going to be like Queen Elizabeth, who's done a good job of kind of staying out of it unless she has to come in. Mm-hmm. And we know that she does. And I didn't know, but she has a weekly meeting with the prime minister.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I knew this.
And things are discussed. But this guy looks like he's a little more, he's not like the guy who's just going to sit there and let things go. He seems to me like an activist, and I think that's what they're trying to tell us in this clip.
Okay, on the release of Prince Charles's secret letters to government officials. The memo is being made public following a 10-year legal battle, as the heir to the throne is expected to stay out of the political arena. Here to talk about what these letters reveal, Amy Kellogg is live in London with more. Amy?
Hi, well, this was about neutrality, Jenna, and of course, the letters show that Prince Charles is not neutral at all, but a lot of people here, commentators, are arguing that that is not necessarily a bad thing, that at least he's not a dissolute heir to the throne or a party prince. He is someone, they say, who is quite passionate about a number of issues, from the British Armed Forces to hill farming to architecture and alternative medicine. There were no surprises in as much as these were all areas the public knew Prince Charles was very interested in. Now, spokespeople for the Prince of Wales at Clarence House have said that he cares deeply about this country and tries to use his unique position to help others. The notes were ominously called the Black Spider letters, but just because of the wispy handwriting the prince is famous for, most of what has been released kind of disappointingly has been typed up. The 27 letters went out to different government ministers years ago, including former Prime Minister Tony Blair. In one, Charles pleads the case for better equipment for troops in Iraq, saying he fears Britain's armed forces are, quote, being asked to do an extremely challenging job without adequate resources. In other letters, he lays out ways he thinks the government could better help British farmers. Now, in Britain, the sovereign, as well as the heir, are expected to be above the fray, but the Queen does have weekly meetings with the Prime Minister, and Prince Charles will, too.
But being from the future, I can put something in the book for you. William is going to be the king, but Prince Charles will not be the next king.
You think so? Why is this?
Unfortunate polo accident.
Well, that would be in line with the British monarchs.
The way of doing things.
To kill somebody off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very common.
I'm pretty
throughout
sure.
History. We always ignore history. We're in 2015. Something like that would never happen. That was in the 1600s. Sure.
I'm glad you bring that up because I am dumbfounded. And I actually had dinner last night with my ex-New York banker friend, who, of course, is an Obama bot and all in. And what does he start off with? What does he start guffawing and laughing about right away?
Republicans?
Seymour Hersh.
Oh, well, we got plenty on that.
That's why I wanted to bring it up, but I want you to lead it off. The thing that bothers me is this is all Obama bots, all Democrats, but they're all in on this guy being a conspiracy theorist. But he's a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Well, he's also highly regarded.
Yeah, but there's off the rails. He's completely nut. He's a wing nut. Oh my God! See what happened to Seymour? They poisoned him. Not for 1 second has anyone said, but maybe there's something to it.
The story is there's a couple of angles in this. It goes in different directions. First of all,
give the background of the story.
Actually, I have a background clip here.
I love it. Summary intro, I'm presuming.
It's war and insults.
Summary intro, I'm presuming.
That would be it.
More sources are confirming a key claim in an explosive story challenging the Obama administration's account of the killing of Osama bin Laden. Investigative journalist Seymour Hersh reported this weekend a former Pakistani intelligence officer disclosed bin Laden's location to the CIA. Hersh said U.S. claims it found bin Laden by tracking his personal courier were false. NBC News confirmed Hersh's claim of the informant through 3 different intelligence sources. Now the Pakistani newspaper The News reports Pakistani officials are also acknowledging the story and have identified the officer as Usman Khalid. Hersh's story says the officer received a $25 million bounty and is now living under U.S. protection near Washington. Carlotta Gall, a New York Times reporter who spent years in Afghanistan and Pakistan, is also now claiming she heard from a high-level Pakistani source that Pakistan was hiding bin Laden and later that an officer had told the CIA. Gall says she did not publish the story because she could not corroborate it in the United States. Meanwhile, national security blogger R.J. Hillhouse is pointing out she reported some of Hersh's key claims 4 years ago.
Wow, they're already going down to bloggers, huh?
In August 2011, Hillhouse wrote on her blog that the informant who led the CIA to bin Laden was a walk-in seeking financial compensation and that Pakistani officials were keeping bin Laden under house arrest with Saudi financial support.
Before you give your analysis, John, I have 3 quick clips that I think provide even more background and also a little bit of the mockery of Seymour Hersh as he appeared on Anderson Cooper's program on CNN. So I thought I'd just play those if you don't mind.
Go. So, Mr. Hersh, you assert that the official American version of what happened to Osama bin Laden is almost entirely false. You say that the Pakistanis were hiding bin Laden, that they knew about the raid, that there was no firefight in the compound, that the Saudis were fronting bin Laden's expenses, that the U.S. didn't bury bin Laden at sea. They tossed what remained of his body basically out of the helicopter. What motive would the U.S. have for lying about this? And not just the U.S., but the Pakistanis and the Saudis.
Most of what you said is pretty much what I write in this most recent article of mine. And all I can tell you is I think the simple way to describe it, our president did authorize the raid. The SEALs carried it out. They did kill bin Laden. They got in and out successfully, and the rest of it is sort of hogwash.
And here is the conspiracy meme.
But why? I mean, why would there be this? What you're alleging is a massive conspiracy involving what would have to be dozens of people.
It's impossible. How could it ever happen? I love this one. So many people were involved. Somebody would have leaked it. It can't be true.
In 3 different countries that has sustained itself until now. What would be the motive for setting up this elaborate hoax?
Hoax!
The critical thing, Anderson, that happened is that we weren't supposed to go public with the raid. The deal with Pasha and Kiani and the rest of the staff of the Pakistan upper reaches of the Pakistani military community was that the SEALs were going to go in, kill this guy, grab the body, take it out. 7 to 10 days. I have 2 different numbers. Later, the president President Obama was going to announce that, oh my God, we did a drone strike in Waziristan, the sort of no man's land between Pakistan and Afghanistan, the Hindu Kush mountain area. We did a drone strike, and my God, we saw this big guy. He looked familiar. We took pictures. We took DNA. We got bin Laden. Instead, the night of the raid, the president, for the only thing. The people talk to me, obviously military and intelligence people, their belief is he did it for political purposes. I don't know what was in the president's mind. He announced and said immediately that we got him.
Look, there are plenty of people who share your skepticism, but in this situation, I mean, there are actual members of SEAL Team 6, Matt Bissonnette, Robert Neal, who have gone public, have said that the raid did in fact happen basically as the government said. Their comrades put their lives at risk, were shot at in the compound. Right. There were bullet holes all over the place. Are you saying they're lying?
I'm saying, I can tell you one thing, I don't know about O'Neill. And Neil said we went in thinking we were going to die, which I think is a great exaggeration. And Bissonnette, who also wrote the book, I think No Easy Day or something like that, certainly was not telling the truth about that. Absolutely. I think that his book there was a lot of stuff interesting in his book, but there was a lot of stuff, operational stuff, that most of his fellow SEALs sort of laugh at.
All right. I'll skip the third clip. That one was longer than I wanted it to be.
Actually, I heard Hirsch on Democracy Now!, and they let him talk.
Uh-huh.
And he said the same kind of things. He's kind of fine-tuning it, but he talks too long. But I do have a short clip of him giving a kind of similar to the one you just played, but kind of explaining what happened was that Obama... And it makes sense. I mean, I don't see why Cooper can't see the logic.
The political that is so obvious. We even on the show say, this is coincidental. We killed the dead guy again just before, we're ramping up for the re-election.
Right. That would be one thesis. And none of this happened in any way. And we also have the 2 SEALs who both claim to have killed Obama, which people just don't.
Which, by the way, SEALs, they're not football spikers, We also had...
That's another thing.
We had the Pentagon colluding with Hollywood on Zero Dark 30. We never had photos of the burial at sea or anything. We had a lot of internet memes.
Play Hirsch yakking.
He said, as you said in the introduction, there was a firefight and bin Laden was killed in it. That's to cover the idea that it was an out-and-out murder. And he said also... In the fight, he also said that a treasure trove of material was recovered. We have yet to see it, and I raised a lot of questions about what was covered, what was collected. At one point, the SEALs were said to have taken 15 computers out of there, but if you read everything that was written, it also was written and said many times there was no internet connection in Abbottabad. There was no sign of any operational capability of bin Laden at all. And one of the problems with the protecting the walk-in, when you had to protect the walk-in, one of the reasons you didn't want to talk about a walk-in was you don't do that, and so we had to.
You mean the guy who revealed to the U.S. walking into the U.S. Embassy?
Yeah, they call him a walk-in, and the president actually said in his speech we had a lead in August of 2010, which really for a lot of people in the intelligence community that was too close to the mark. A lead means something specific happened then, and that's when the walk-in went to see a guy named Jonathan Banks, the station chief, a very competent guy from everything I hear, the station chief for the CIA in Islamabad. We had to call in lie detector people from Washington, had to fly in to debrief the guy and conclude he was telling the truth. It was a big piece of evidence. Anyway, but you have to get around that story, so you create the Courier story, that the CIA with brilliant work, and initially they wanted to say through enhanced interrogation, found out about a courier who led him to bin Laden. That is really an outrageous story, and they sold it to a movie called Zero Dark 30. Zero Dark. That was the thesis of the movie that also included the torture element. Absolutely not so.
All right, John, your analysis.
Well, there's a couple of things going on. One is the possibility that this whole thing was misdirection. He was fed all this information and wrote a very long article with some pretty juicy stuff in it. It was very and a more logical explanation. But the problem I have with the story, besides the potential of it being kind of planted with him to keep this Obama killed by the SEALs at this moment alive when it's possibly he was already dead, is the fact that he talked about this. I couldn't reclip it because it was just part of a longer exposition. He does discuss that, and they've accused me of plagiarism. By the way, I sent you the two links.
I got the links, in the show notes.
There's this woman that was mentioned in the earlier piece named R.J. Hillhouse, who's a very screwy person. And she's like an independent contracting spy of some sort. And she wrote the main points that are discussed by Hersh were discussed by her on August 7th of 2011 in an article she wrote on her blog, which is called "The Spy Who Billed Me." The blog is mostly about outsourcing spy work. And on this blog, which is titled "Bin Laden Turned In by Informant, Courier Was Cover Story." This was in 2011. And in here, the main points that Hersh makes are made by her. But they're made by her in a blog post, which is probably 600 words long, not 10,000. And it's done in a kind of a no-agenda style of snide, ridiculing the snide and the obvious.
A question: are we very sure this was posted in 2011 and not backdated?
I would mention that it's possible that this was posted later. But the way she claims, and I think there's some. I will believe that this is true because she claims that in 2011, and I guess there's some documents we could look into. It was some people were pointing to it. Right. Because Hersh says he never saw this article, doesn't know anything about it.
So now that not only is they're going to brand him a conspiracy theorist, but also a plagiarist. You might as well just chop the guy's head off.
The problem is it's not plagiarism.
Okay.
It's lifting a thesis. It's not plagiarism in any way. Right. Plagiarism is when you copy somebody.
Verbatim, yeah.
And I think then he was irked about being called a plagiarist already, and then people kind of ignored the rest of the story, which is that maybe he's not a plagiarist, but he lifted the thesis.
Regardless, this little bitch fest results in obfuscating what I believe to be the case that bin Laden died many, many years ago. He's been dead and just being held up as a boogeyman for the right moment ever since 9/11.
I think there's evidence of that, but I think you want to look into something, you have to get a hold of did somebody get $25 million?
Or a portion of it, yeah.
Which everybody seems to say somebody did.
Yeah, you want to find out the guy over there in Abbottabad.
No, he's outside of Washington, D.C. now.
Oh, with a Ferrari. That's the guy you want.
Yeah, look for the Ferrari. A Pakistani driving around in a fancy car.
Driving Uber with a Ferrari.
But she comes to all her conclusions by looking at what we do, which I kind of admired, the logic of some of the stuff. And let me just read a paragraph from this particular post. Mm-hmm. The cooperation was why there were no troops in Abbottabad. They were all pulled out. It had seemed very far-fetched to me that a helicopter could crash and later be destroyed in an area of high military concentration without the Pakistanis noticing. We discussed this during that era.
Oh, yeah.
But then it seemed even wilder to believe that a U.S. Navy SEAL, DevGru, actually shot a woman who rushed them in the leg. Yeah, right. I know these guys. The only way they'll shoot a woman in the leg is if they are double tapping a head or chest and the leg got in the way. DevGru shoots to kill.
Agreed.
Yeah, and anyway, this is the kind of thing that she's doing. She says the cover story was going to be a drone strike in Pakistan, which is all, again, reiterated by Hersh. Things went south when the helicopter crashed. The White House freaked and the cooperating Pakistanis were thrown under the bus. And it was obvious. It was logical to yes. And you can imagine. I've always had the sense that Obama is not the kind of guy who you could fully trust in some really elaborate operation in terms of not throwing you under the bus to get an advantage. I could look into the August 7th, 2011 posting, see if was past posted, but I get the sense that it wasn't, mainly because of the site when she seems really adamant, but she is kind of a freelance spy herself, and she'd probably do anything for money.
Hersh is staking his reputation and what's left of it on, and Hersh is, I'm a fan of this guy, but he's done huge stories, huge. But
yeah,
this
I'm
one
a fan
is
of
just
this guy too. Now, I think this was a setup in some way. I don't even know. This may have been given to him on a silver platter. I have no idea, but we know that intelligence agencies do that with all these writers.
Well, but, I mean, I haven't paid attention to his, what's the name of it? whowhatwhere.com, I think is his blog. Hersh's...
yeah, something like
maybe they were just annoyed by him in general. Just get this guy out of the way. Let me just play this quick clip.
I don't think... I don't believe that either. I don't think they're getting him out of the way. This is not... The amount of damage to his reputation is minor. And you have this woman who nobody knows, R.J. Hillhouse. Nobody reads her blog. It's just not... It'll just blow over. And in fact, the whole thing will blow over. I think even the White House in there. Here, I have a White House clip on this.
Is this Josh Earnest?
Joshy.
I can tell you that the Obama White House is not the only one to observe that the story is riddled with inaccuracies and outright falsehoods. The former deputy director of the CIA, Mike Morrell, has said that every sentence was wrong. And
you stop right there. There's another one that comes up after every sentence was wrong. That's not even a possibility in any dimension. But saying every sentence was wrong doesn't mean it was inaccurate.
No.
If you think about it.
But
oh my God, this is, it's like they say something, it's an assertion of some sort, and they say, oh, this is wrong. This is wrong. They shouldn't say that. That's wrong. That's wrong. They said bad things. That's wrong.
I'm going to agree with you that it was not set up to discredit Hersh, but I think the media is very happy about that, and it makes everybody happy to turn him into a kook. Because without fail, this is being called a conspiracy theory. The only thing worse is to call someone a Republican. That is what is being said about him, and I'm just surprised. He went off into his own little independent venture.
Well, I find I'm surprised that you have Democrats like the banker, because you get the sense that Amy Goodman is not thinking that way on Democracy Now. They just give him talk. Here you go. Take as much time as you want. But the Democrats that were upset by the My Lai massacre, which is where he got his start, by revealing that, and his mostly during the Bush administration condemning Bush's everything from the Patriot Act and on, and Cheney. I mean, Hersh was Hersh is actually anti-administration no matter who was in there. Sure. But during this little period where he sounded really nutty, they're all in. Oh, this guy, look, he's proven that Bush is horrible. He's dumb.
Right.
He's dumb. He's smart. He's dumb. He's smart.
Oh, I should have remembered that. Yes. He also the guy who said George W. Bush is dumb.
Yeah, he's dumb, but he's a genius. He's an evil genius. Yeah, well, no, it's Cheney. The whole thing was ridiculous, but nobody was criticizing Hersh then. But say something bad about Obama. Obama lied. Right, my God, the guy's a kook. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
I think this is more a function of these Obama bots.
But here's so Anderson Cooper does this interview with Hersh. Then he brings on their expert. This is, I think, Peter Bergen. Of course, it's a Brit. You see, if you want it to sound credible, you got to have an English accent. Then yes, he must be right.
Peter, you've heard what Sy Hersh had said tonight, and also in the article.
And I'll remind you, Anderson Cooper worked at the CIA.
He's got a tremendous history as a journalist. He's broken important stories years ago. What do you make of this one?
Notice that years ago, back when before he was insane, years ago.
That was a good catch.
He's broken important stories years ago. What do you make of this one?
That's all true, Anderson. But I mean, the firefight that took place at the bin Laden compound is just sort of incontrovertibly true. The idea that this was some kind of piece of performance art cooked up by the United States and the Pakistanis is not. There's no evidence for that.
He also never said performance art, but I like the discredit to Peter Bergen.
In fact, there's a lot of countervailing evidence. You mentioned in your interview, you have the two SEALs on the record explaining about the firefights. I saw with my own eyes the damage that this very violent raid inflicted on the compound before it was demolished.
He's saying there were no other shots fired other than the shots that killed bin Laden.
That's right. And, that's just, I mean...
Hear this? This is it. This is the mockery This is the mockery.
You saw bullet holes.
Who is this guy again?
He's their expert, Peter Bergen, some Brit. He was probably also engineer before he put him in front of the camera.
I mean, there was quite an intense exchange of fire with one of the bodyguards.
Which now the guy's talking like he was there, and this is all true.
I don't know, dozens of bullet holes in one of the houses in the compound before they even got to bin Laden. So, that sort of factual element just is, we can set aside.
Factual.
There was a firefight. This wasn't some sort of setup between the U.S. and the Pakistanis, which is one of the principal claims of the peace.
That's right. Shut up. Yeah, fine. I agree. I think it was duped. He was duped. But it was all just to keep the Osama bin Laden is alive meme going.
No, you mean dead.
No, that he was still alive, and then they killed him.
Yeah, that he was still alive as opposed to already being dead for years.
Yeah, and how many SEALs died in that helicopter accident who were apparently there, then the SEALs crashed?
Well, they were there when the first story came out. They were there. Then the second story about it, they weren't there. They were a different group.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is messed up.
Yeah.
There's too many, there's and I think her point about this woman being shot in the leg.
Yeah, valid.
I think it's well taken. She has a few other one of these, but again, these were not much of it wasn't. She said she had some people in the intelligence community that told her this story, and it's a good thing to read. It's a very short piece. It's like 600 words. And she says, it begins with, forget the cover story of waterboarding leads to Courier leads to bin Laden. Not to deny the effectiveness of waterboarding, so she's all in on that.
Right.
But it's just not applicable. Sources in the intelligence community tell me after years of trying and one bureaucratically insane near miss in Yemen, the U.S. government killed OBL because a Pakistani intelligence officer came forward to collect the approximately $25 million reward in the Rewards for Justice program. We talked about
that. Rewardsforjustice.net.
Yeah.
All right. So we remain fans of Hersh.
Yeah.
But we think he was duped. It can happen. Happens to us all the time.
Of course, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, of course.
And why did this run in the London Book Review?
No one else would publish it. That's what I heard. The New York Times wouldn't publish it. No one wanted it.
Why don't? Well, that's very suspicious because this guy's money.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like these valuable football players. They get kicked off of one team and everybody just clamors for him because it's money.
Right.
You got a Hersh article. You make out. I mean, you get your name out there. He gets a lot of attention. We know that. Mm-hmm. And this was a good story,
even though it's likely untrue. I do like the fact that we're so badass we just kick the bits and pieces of the guy out of the helicopter. That's the story I like. Hey,
well, Hersh talks about this. I think somebody else did too. That
get the bitch out.
That he was not only shot, he wasn't shot in the head, but he was shot throughout the body to the point where his neck was severed and his head was off, and one of his arms, I guess, fell off because he was just riddled with these machine gun fire or whatever they were using, and so they had to put it like damn near in a suitcase to
and her head is gone.
Yeah.
To get get him out of there.
Right.
That's very colorful.
Yeah. All right. No other conclusion?
Not really.
All right.
I don't know how long this. I don't think this has that much legs.
Well, one thing's for sure. From this day forward, whenever Sy Hersh has a breaking story, it'll be preceded by, the conspiracy theorist about Osama bin Laden not being killed the way it was. Yeah, that guy has a story. It's going to be.
One of the reasons, if you read that second article, the more recent article by this woman, bitching about her being ripped off, she says, and it's a very funny article because apparently Hersh claims he can't really use the internet that well because you would have discovered this article. She says, I am thinking, which leads me to believe that this might have been something of a setup because Hersh, me, for example, if I was going to write this story and I had run across this woman's article, which pretty much says much of the same thing. It doesn't talk about a lot of the stuff he discusses, but the main thesis is all here.
You would have referenced it. You would have referenced
it. You credit her.
Yeah, you would have referenced that, of course. course.
You just say, oh, and so this isn't even new. This was first discussed in 2011 by R.J. Hillhouse, and you're done. And that's what you do to get around. If you're lifting as a writer, if you're lifting somebody else's idea and you want to expand upon it, you want to say, well, she's got most of this right, but she's not talking enough, and there's not enough details here. You credit her, and then you go into the stuff you want to write about, and you're clear. Right. And the fact that he knows that, and he knows how to do that, and everybody does. He would have done it. He didn't do that, so I get the sense that something else was up here. He was set up.
Yeah.
He's too much of a pro to let this sort of thing happen to him.
All right.
Anyway, that's it.
Before we get to our opening credits, I did want to mention something that popped into the news feed about the Radiotopia. This is the podcast network.
Another one?
Well, no, this is the one that has... what do you call it? Serial is in here, and the 99% Invisible.
Yeah.
Right. So the Knight Foundation has invested is the title, $1 million in. So they've donated that, I presume, to Radiotopia. So he's a podcasting network who just received $1 million from the Knight Foundation. What is interesting about this is what you're seeing now is the people who make this public radio programming. This also includes This American Life, and all of this are commercial companies that make this. They sell it through the National Public Radio Foundation, who then distribute it to radio stations. And we know that they all have advertising up front, and they're doing live reads, and they're going way above and beyond anything that NPR can do on the radio by law. By their statutes. That's how they receive government funding and how they remain nonprofits. But now you're seeing these guys are also hyped up and excited that they're saying, hey, it's time for capitalism to come to public radio. Yeah, we need advertising. Yeah. Let me say who said this? It was Ira Glass. My hope is that we can move away from a model of asking listeners for money and join the free market. Public radio is ready for capitalism. Great.
Ira Glass, he's an old public radio hack from forever, and he would do that? That's just a sellout.
It's a big sellout. The interesting...
You can't expect their information to be accurate if they're going to have a bunch of advertisers. This is the point.
Thank you. I love this shift, by the way. It's making Lee Masters, Jarl Morn, my old buddy from MTV, who's now the CEO of NPR, is a difficult position for him, because if these guys are taking money off the table, then nothing goes to the stations. And by the way, $1 million or $2 million, whatever you have, I'm going to be very honest here. You think you're going to build a podcasting network. It doesn't work. There's no reason for networks anymore. There's no value add. You don't control the distribution. You can only help by providing, services.
You don't have a bunch of CBS affiliates.
No, you do. If you do central ad buying, by definition, the creators, as they call them now, we're a podcast creator. They don't get the full amount, because, in fact, they get a very small amount of it because the network needs to, they employ people. I've done this. We spent $50 million and couldn't do it. It doesn't work anymore. There's no value add, zero value add. This will fail. Now, if you pull each individual piece out and these become listener supported, and with support, it should not only just be financed, but also really the way our show works, we have... it's collaboration. We're miles ahead of these yahoos, by the way. We've got artists, we've got jingle producers, we've got financial support, we've got information, we have a network of experts, which we could sell to any outlet and make our producers rich, by the way. This is a business that is booming. But we don't choose to do that because we don't want to be compromised. Now, will you still be able to be multimillionaire doing a podcast? No. Those days are over. It's over for most entertainment. We've talked about this many times.
Except Puddle's pity party.
Well, there's him, of course. So, but I encourage it. Please go commercial. Go to capitalism, please, because it's going to destroy public radio.
Yeah, well, you know what? The problem with public radio to me, because I watched it as it went from actual listener support to underwriting to now these what are essentially advertisements, and the thought that they're advertisements, the consideration that they're advertisements, as we have from that clip where the head of NPR interchanges the word advertising for underwriting.
Yeah, where is that clip?
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, where is that?
Is the reference.
Yeah, I know. But it's been so long since we've played that, I don't even know where it is.
Well, dig it up so we can play it sometime.
Yeah.
But let's thank a few people that are producers.
Well, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Why?
Because I first have to thank you for your courage.
Oh.
And say in the morning to you.
I always forget to get thanked.
In the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for capitalism, Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Adam Curry. In the morning to all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to all of our native advertisers in the chat room. That would be because they do provide native advertising for the program, our human resources, noagendastream.com. In the morning to Sarcasquatch, new artist on the scene who provided the artwork for episode 720.
And Martin JJ provided the artwork for the newsletter.
Great work. I like this Sarcasquatch.
He's a pro.
Yeah,
you can tell.
Yeah. In fact, we looked at his website, which is linked from the show notes on 720. And he is a pro. That's what he does for a living. So we really appreciate that. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can submit, where you can look at all of the art, where you can download it, print it, whatever you want to do. Just enjoy it. A lot of it's just funny. Funny to look at. Very, very enjoyable.
I agree. So let's thank a few people who are the producers and the executive producers and the associate executive producers for this show. In this case, we have 3 executive producers and nobody else. It wasn't the best of weeks, but it was you can get by. Seth Griffin, of course, gave us $550 from South Elgin, Illinois. Dear John and Adam, I received John's letter about the elites wanting us to eat bugs. And I'm donating $550 out of spite for their outrageous contempt.
I love bugs! Bugs!
Please enjoy a tomahawk steak on me.
Thank you.
And feel free to pass on the caterpillar mashed potatoes. I also believe that this brings my total contribution to the level of knighthood. Thank you so much for all the hard work. Keep it up.
Indeed.
Sincerely, Seth Griffin.
It does indeed. So today we also shall be knighting John Fletcher.
All right.
For his Fletcher Fest initiative, which was very successful. Everyone been downloading the Fletcher Fest shouts from the 720 show notes, 720.noagendanotes.com. And thank you, Seth. And looking forward to seeing you at the round table.
Also coming in with $400 from the D.C. area, Sir Chase. ITM to you and the fantastic producers of the No Agenda Show. I'm a longtime listener who has pulled time and funds together with friends to produce a financial mobile app. It's geared toward people with stock portfolios. The app allows you to easily apply and track a trailing stop for each stock. John can explain this.
Well, you should. This is something for you and Horowitz Unplugged.
We look at it, sure, definitely. It uses green, yellow, red flags to show each of your stock positions during a dynamic percentage-based trailing stop. We've launched the app for Android and preparing an iPhone version. Now you did it backwards. I really appreciate those producers listening with stock portfolios and IRAs to give it a try. You can find it on Google Play Store by typing Trailing Stops App. TrailingStopsApp.com. I really appreciate this quick shout out to get some attention and traction or users who may be interested. Thanks again for the blood, sweat, and laughs you put into every show.
Let me give him a little bit of app karma for a moment there.
You've got karma.
I know how hard that is.
And finally, for $345.67, 34567, one of my favorite donations, James Spann in Birmingham, Alabama. I host a podcast called Weather Brains and happen to be an AMS certified meteorologist.
Okay.
You guys are spot on when it comes to climate change.
I got a clip for that today.
Also want to call out the news anchor that works with me, Dave Baird, as a douchebag.
Douchebag.
Loves the show.
Nice.
There's a lot of meteorologists that know it's. Very. It's not uncommon. Let's put it that way. And that's it. That's all we got. I want to remind people to do a show coming up on Sunday. It's a short list.
Oh my goodness. No associate execs.
No, none. Dvorak.org/NA. Get in while you can.
Yeah.
Help us out.
Yeah, please. We're
contribute to the cause.
We're struggling here. We're struggling. This is the third show that we're down.
Yeah, third.
Mm-hmm. And people are, they're wondering if you're okay.
Why?
Well, what's wrong with John?
Why?
They wonder if you have onset of dementia. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I get.
Am I acting demented?
I don't think so. No different than normal, but maybe we're just a little demure. I don't know.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Please, you can always go out there and help us by propagating the one and only formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Hey, citizens.
Shut up, slave. Shut up, slave.
All right, since it came up, since we have... we just discussed some of the climatology, weatherology, and Agenda 21-ology, we have two things to listen to. One is this report from CNN. We've been talking about this for many, many years, about the lack of hurricanes, which were all predicted as a part of initially global warming.
Oh, it's going to be all nonstop level 5 hurricanes.
Now, these were all predicted, so they don't fit in with the predictive models. What I like very much about this report, and this is one of those things they put on the website where it's not just a news anchor talking and giving you the story, but they do it from side angles. And in this case, she is looking ahead. It's kind of like an in-studio kind of thing. It's very produced. You'll be surprised by what actually has thwarted or not enabled the hurricanes as expected, according to the models.
It may be hard to believe, but we have not had a major hurricane, we're talking about a Category 3 or higher, strike the U.S. in the past 9 years. That's the longest hurricane drought ever. The second longest drought we had was back in 1861 to 68. That drought lasted 8 years. The American Geophysical Union did a study to try to find out what causes these hurricane droughts and how often we may have them. They found that it's likely to happen only once every 177 years. But what's more impressive is that they couldn't find any link to scientific evidence of why this happens. It basically boils down to luck. So the last major hurricane to strike the U.S. was Hurricane Wilma. That was back in 2005. That doesn't mean we haven't had destructive storms since. Hurricane Sandy. We've also had Ike that impacted the Gulf Coast. So
by the way, it was not Hurricane Sandy. That has to stop. It was Superstorm Sandy. It was not a hurricane.
Had some major damage from storms since 2005, but we haven't had any with the Category 3 or higher intensity. Always remember that the hurricane drought can end at any time.
Be afraid.
It's always important to be prepared.
Be prepared. Be afraid. All right. I don't like the laughing kid. It's creepy. It's creepy. It's just creepy. I don't want to hear the laughing kid. It's creepy.
Okay. Can I have it do some talking?
You always make me happy.
What is this? Is this a doll that you're pulling the string on?
No, it's actually an electric bear called Little Bear.
All right.
That talks.
Yeah. I'm going to start agreeing with people who are wondering if you have the onset of dementia.
This is a very good day.
Now we go to the Hill. That would be where the Congress convenes in the United States of Gitmo Nation. Atmospheric scientist John Christie was, and of course this is set up by Gohmert, and this will not be shown anywhere. You will not hear of this, even though it happened. He pulled out the climate models, all, I think, 102, 120 climate models that are computer models developed by the IPCC, which are the basis for the fear of everybody dying because of man-made global warming, thus climate change. Very, very interesting presentation, only on your No Agenda show.
I am one of the few people that actually builds these climate data sets from scratch so that we can see what the real climate is doing.
Well, I understand you may have a slide that compares
I love how it's so set up. I understand you have a slow me the slide, man. You're not doing it right.
Various climate models.
Yes, being from Alabama, a lot of target.
Would you explain that?
There. So this is a target. That is the trend in the atmospheric temperature that has happened since 1979. That's the target that you want to hit with your climate model. So it's like we give someone 102 bullets to shoot at that target. Okay, go to the next one. And that's what they got. That not a single one of these climate model projections was able to hit the target. That is the basis, though, on which the policy is being made, is on those climate models, not on the evidence before us.
Do you have another slide
Hey, man, hurry up with the presentation. I'm trying to make a point with the other slide.
Shows a difference in what's projected and what's real? Well, this is the one you were showing a while ago.
Yes, that. I think everyone here in this room can understand that slide. And I think they would understand something is wrong with the scientific theory we have about how greenhouse gases affect the climate. No one has said this slide is wrong. It's been available.
Then what you see here is the climate, the model, the target from these models, just big hockey stick, which we've all seen. And then you see all the models that he's pulled together, and they're very far from what has been predicted.
Available for over 2 years. Or over a year. It took me a long time to build it because that's downloading 102 models and so on. But that is the way I understand it. The extreme claims about climate change are based upon what those models, what that red line is showing, and not on what the real world is actually doing.
I'm shocked to find that climate data is being manipulated around here.
And there you go. You will not. By the way, it's worth looking at that clip. It's a C-SPAN clip. You can find it in the show notes, so you can see the actual model. You can pass that around to people; they won't believe you anyway. That's futile. Futile,
yeah,
I tell
it's
you.
Futile. It's
futile.
The funny part about it. It's you just keep pounding. Al Gore began it, of course. You keep pounding and pounding, and Al Gore did it to hopefully clean up on the cap and trade scam.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just keep pounding and pounding, and you get a group of people. Like the liberal Democrat types, the Bill Maher's, who's so all in on this, who have no scientific training whatsoever. None. Zero. I don't even think he has a college degree. But you find these guys and then you start pushing more of this at them. And then they pass it on to others who clap. And it just gets worse and worse. And you end up with just a bunch of robots that are jumping up and down, and, oh, yeah, we're all going to die, and how can anyone deny this?
Hands clapping, thumbs up.
That's right.
97%. All these memes just come blurting out of these people.
I think the tipping point, though, is what we talked about on Sunday's show, where we're now seeing a kind of a safe zone that because of climate change denial and man-made global warming denial, a lot of scientists are backpedaling on their facts and their evidence, all by we talked about the three different reasons, but all pressure, and they don't they feel like they're in the minority.
Don't forget the real reason. It's $340 million that was pulled by the Republicans from climate research. Our money's going away. Let's clear our names.
Oh, interesting. That, by the way, is also what I'm going to do a little tech news without the jingle. This merger or acquisition of America Online by Verizon.
Yeah.
I think everyone's analysis is wrong.
All right.
What are they saying? They're buying the ad network. We're putting content with the pipes. No. I believe this is purely for not purely, but I believe it's for the dial-up customers. And the 1.9 billion, no, wait a minute. I think it's 1. Is it 9.9? This, how many billion dollars in subsidy? Here, $9 billion in broadband subsidy was made available by the FCC late last year. Now, for $4.4 billion, not a lot of money to, it seems like a lot, but not a lot of money to Verizon. Certainly, if you can say, hey, we have how many, was it 2 million customers they have, or 2.5 million dial-up customers? Hey, we got these customers. We wouldn't mind having a little bit of broadband subsidy. And these guys, Verizon is known for taking this subsidy to build out their broadband network. I think it's totally all about the dial-up.
Oh, that's an interesting thesis.
Let me see what the...
I don't know how you could prove the thesis, but it makes sense.
Well, let's see what happens when they get to the... here it is. U.S. Federal Communications Commission voted to shift $9 billion over 5 years from traditional telephone subsidies to broadband subsidies in an effort to bring high-speed internet services to 5 million U.S. residents who don't have access. Boom! Expand the network. That's. I mean, it's the only profitable piece, I guess. I don't know how HuffPo is doing in TechCrunch. Who gives a crap? Which will probably be spun out anyway. I went looking for a reason, and pretty soon I said, well, this makes total sense. Take a piece of that $9 billion over 5 years, get your money back, expand your network, and then sell people all kinds of stuff.
And you're right. You can probably dump TechCrunch and the HuffPost for what there was paid for them at the beginning with, which quite a bit. But you can probably dump them for a couple $1 couple of $1 billion because of the way things are going until the economy collapses. Somebody will buy them. Yeah. Now, you may be onto something. I like it. I can't see why it wouldn't be that, because there has to be better explanation for this than everybody in the tech writing community kind of looked at as, oh, these guys are idiots. Why are they doing this?
Well,
they're idiots. That's dumb. They never look beyond that quick kind of analysis.
To me, it's just numbers. I mean, when you acquire something, particularly as a public company, there's a lot of reasons to acquire something that has a certain type of asset, or if they're profitable, because it's all accretive to your numbers. I co-ran a public company, so I know about some of this, certainly about acquisitions. At $4.4 billion is really a joke. It's nothing if you take into account that they do probably $200 to $300 million a year just on the dial-up. There's a value to that. You assign a value to those customers, but again, it's just like it'll pay for itself. We need people to get that funding for. Really, the Verizon is basing their business, the future of their business, on content and an ad network. Nah, then you're idiots. How many times has that been done?
It doesn't make any sense. That's what the tech press was right about. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, help me do the math for a second. If you have 20 million dial-up customers paying $20 a month,
they don't have 20 million. They don't have
2 million, 2.5 million. We'll just take 2 million dial-up customers paying about $20 a month, right? So how much is that a year?
Okay, that's what $20 a month would be $240 per customer. 240 times 2 would be 480 million.
Right. What would you pay? What multiple would you pay on each subscriber?
Well, if you play a multiple of 10x, that's your $4 billion right there.
Thank you. That's it.
Well, it's it, especially if you get the money from the government to convert these 2 million to 2 million broadband users, which has to be that's got to be worth probably $100 a head. I mean, the deal may be worth $40 billion
when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
But I was just surprised to see this immediate analysis of, it's all about mobile advertising. Let me tell you, mobile advertising I'm almost ready to break my iPhone. Do people? Why do these websites, Guardian and all, they add these buttons on about an inch of the bottom of your screen so you can share to Facebook and Twitter and email? I don't need this from you. The screen is already small. You're taking up this real estate. Now we have these slide over JavaScript ads popping up on mobile. It's useless. It's useless.
I have not seen a slide over Java.
Yeah, I saw one just yesterday. Or
Flash or whatever they're using to move, probably JavaScript.
Incredibly annoying. All right. But you won't hear that optional analysis, I don't think, anywhere. It just seems these guys are known for taking the money and taking the money. They're known for doing it. And not in a pretty way, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. We'll close out the segment. Hey, phone, schmy-phone. The only good phone's a landline. It's made out of Bakelite. There you go.
And then came the news, and then I wanted a clip, and so I went to the best source I could find, an old favorite of this show who went away, and we no longer play clips from him, Keith Olbermann, on something that has irked us for a long time.
We begin with an NFL scandal that in some respects is more cynical, more disturbing, and certainly more influential than Deflategate or Ray Rice or the tragedy of player brain trauma. The salutes to the troops, the flag-waving patriotic tributes by NFL teams at their games to active U.S. military service personnel. Government records now reveal many of them, probably most of them, are bought and paid for by the U.S. military, by the Defense Department, most by the National Guard. They are not organic, spontaneous recognitions of personal sacrifice and valor. They are not a high-profile way of saying thank you. They are not the responses of one sport to the public mood. They are recruiting stunts, paid for with taxpayer dollars, your dollars. $5,400,000 of your taxpayer dollars just since 2011, given just to NFL teams who then waved the flag for a price. And even that startling figure is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to prepaid patriotism in sports. It turns out there was nearly $50 million of it last year alone. Not $50 million for body armor for the troops, not for treating the wounded, not for giving a veteran the only thanks he truly wants, a job and a good life, but for prepackaged pro-military stunts at sporting events using soldiers as props.
We don't even count the cost of the flyovers. And by the way,
those things are going to be extremely expensive. This explains, I don't know why.
You've been the guy that has been mad about this, and I totally agree.
Mad about it, but I never thought and I'll give Olbermann credit for whoever dug this up and sent him the information. I'm sure he didn't do it himself.
Right.
He had a producer who did it, probably somebody in the Pentagon who likes him, and because the show is entertaining. But I'm now irked that we didn't didn't dawn on us that this whole thing was bought and paid for. I was under the impression that it was just the patriotism thing was over the top, but apparently not. But I bitched. One of the things I bitched about, I went to the University of California football game, and there was not only the same old marching soldiers and the salute and the song and all the rest of it, but then they came out and they brought out the ROTC class and gave them medals or something right in the middle of the. Cool. We're going to come here to see a football game.
Cool.
I have to assume that was paid for.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah, that's had me fooled.
Goebbels is happy, rolling around in his grave. Good work. Good. It's so Deutschlandish of us.
Oh yeah,
it really is. You know what? They should do play Valkyries, Ride of the Valkyries before each game, and then bring in the military and some armbands for everybody. Then we're good.
Yeah, well, the armbands are coming.
Man, oh man.
Here's a couple of things that went on. Let's play this. I want to get this is kind of amusing. Here is the Democracy Now! Report. Apparently, Kim Jong-il had some.
Yeah, this is another. At this point, I think No Agenda producers and listeners alike are just rolling their eyes.
I got it. I got the whole thing laid out. Here's the normal, kind of normal, even though I think this is a bogus report. I think all these reports are bogus, but this one is the DNMK. It says NK execution. Play this. So this will be the staging of the next clip.
North Korea has reportedly executed its defense minister. The South Korean intelligence service says Hyung Yong-chol was killed after dozing off at a military event, which the regime saw as an act of disrespect to leader Kim Jong-un. Kim is said to have ordered the executions of more than a dozen senior officials this year for challenging his authority.
Now, what I heard is that they shot him in public with a 50 cal.
Well, that's where we're moving. So we're going to take this out of Democracy's Now! Simple report to the outrageous Gretchen Carlson and Monica, whatever her name is, the blondie that used to work for Nixon. They have an analysis which not only goes beyond. First, they have the bogus part of the story, which is what you just said. And then they decide they got time left. The block is like,
it's the C block, but they didn't have enough to fill it.
Yeah, so they're going to do a little analysis.
And by the way, let me tell you what happens on set. There's a floor director standing next to the camera, and he's with both hands, he is pretending like he's stretching some saltwater taffy. Or there may even be in the prompter, it'll say stretch, right?
Well, that talk amongst yourselves. I mean, I think what it was, they had the segment, they gave the bogus story, and then they brought Monica Crowley on, and she is going to add color. And so she decides to go off the deep end with an analysis. And the analysis is so crazy. And then Gretchen, who's, I believe, is an idiot, she goes, oh, that's fantastic. Now I understand the whole thing. Here we go.
In the meantime, a new report from South Korea's spy agency revealing North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has publicly executed his defense minister with an anti-aircraft gun. Well, it's the man that you see right here. The alleged reason? Sleeping on the job, talking back, and complaining about the young leader. Let's bring in Monica Crowley, online opinion editor for the Washington Times and a Fox News contributor. So I guess if you fall asleep in a meeting after serving your country for decades and decades, they off you.
Well, this is how communist dictatorships behave. They operate by intimidation, fear, and terror. This is not the first time Kim Jong-un or his father or his grandfather has publicly executed somebody who they thought was being insubordinate to the regime or talking back or falling asleep allegedly in a meeting. This is how tyrannies behave. Not a surprise.
All right, I want to show our viewers a satellite image. This is of the execution site in North Korea. This comes from a human rights group. So apparently, Monica, they're able to capture, to say that this is where the public execution was when the anti-aircraft shots came in.
Yeah, now usually when you see something like this from North Korea, and we have very little intelligence and very little information about this regime, it's called the Hermit Kingdom for a reason. It's the most reclusive regime on the face of the earth. But if these reports are true, it indicates a couple of things to me. First of all, there could be some political chaos, maybe upheaval within the regime, and he is really trying to consolidate power, send a shot across the bow to anybody who might be thinking about challenging him for power. The other thing, too, is that most of the global news, Gretchen, has been concentrated on the Iranian nuclear talks and on Russia and Vladimir Putin's aggressiveness in Crimea and Ukraine and elsewhere. It could be that now he's a little jealous that he is not the center of global attention. Also, remember, about a week ago, he did a missile test, and it got very limited attention in the West. And so now he's probably saying, hey, look, I'm still here. And one of the ways he tries to get global attention is by executing a member of his cabinet.
Unbelievable. Monica Crowley, you have so much breaking news, but thank you so much for your analysis.
Makes nothing but sense.
Unbelievable, she says. Gretchen says, unbelievable.
It's great. Yeah. Unbelievable, but fantastic. Thank you so much.
So we have two idiots just rambling on, making stuff up as they go along.
Man.
And it's like, okay. And none of it makes any sense, by the way.
Then they have a satellite picture of the strike zone.
They have a big satellite picture showing, by the way, it shows nothing. It doesn't show, it's just some distant satellite photo.
Any blood or anything?
No, it was like, it was so high up that it was like it was bull crap. Just so here it is. Here's what happened. You don't know that.
Like his other, what is the other guy? He fed to the dogs, which turned out to be not true.
And there was a guy who was also killed by flamethrowers.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, the dogs one was good too. Yeah.
But I wanted to move to the USA Freedom Act, which is another one of these interesting pieces of legislation we've been following. And I want to remind everybody that when it comes to Section 215 of the National Defense Authorization Act, that when did Snowden come out? When did Snowden come out with with his revelations? What year was that? 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
So that would be 2013.
Here, let's take a look and get this correct.
And the only reason I say this is just so you know, your No Agenda show on May 28th, 2011 registered section215.org. That's how long we've been tracking this. Now, I haven't kept it up to date because we got kind of tired of it after a while. But the bulk data collection from Section 215, we were talking about 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. June 2013 is when they nailed Snowden.
Right. So here we have, let me see, where do I put all of this?
By the way, if you search for Ed Snowden, people also search for Julian Assange, Glenn Greenwald, Laura Poitras, Chelsea Manning, and
No Agenda Show.
Anna Chapman.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's funny. The picture of some blonde or some redhead bombshell here. I said, what do they have? What is connection? I don't know.
I would like to explain, and I think people appreciate this deconstruction of why the USA Freedom Act, which stops the government collection of mass collection bulk data, is a total setup for even more spying. Everybody, this is great. They're going to do away with this. No. And I have copies, of course, of the USA Freedom Act, which passed the House. Then I think the Senate is voting on it tomorrow.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. So it passed the House. And let me explain why this is only going to create more covert trolling of everybody's data. So the act, and we discussed this when we saw the first draft, the act takes the collection, no more collection by the government. However, the telecommunications companies will now save all of this data, and will save it for an X amount of time. Then there will be access will be granted. Now, here's the thing that I find where I think is basically they've set up a back door to everything. We have the cyber sharing agreement, which indemnifies any company from sharing their information with the government. And we have companies now, what was that, FireEye, who have already been pre-approved. It can all
the middlemen.
The middlemen can go all through them, so you can't even blame these companies. To me, it seems this is perfect. This is beautiful. Oh no, we can't do bulk collection. But in the meantime, these companies have complete free range to hand over all that data to the government. So it's like covering up the obvious.
Yeah, we talked about this in the last show. It's classic.
It's totally classic.
Yeah, and not only that, but I think it was genius for to set up this little FireEye operation.
And they did all of this in the right sequence. So we've already forgotten about the Cyber Security Sharing Act. We've already gotten past that. No one really complained about the indemnification because why would we? Same for vaccine companies. Who gives a shit? If you die, you can't sue anybody. So what?
The public doesn't even know what indemnification means.
There's that.
Oh, they've indemnified. Okay. Does that mean is that free lunch or what does that mean? I don't know.
Yeah. So for everyone jumping up and down saying, oh, this is so fantastic. No, it's not. It just made it worse. Completely untrackable. I don't even think there's reporting requirements, although companies will now be out. Google is all in on this, by the way. Big blog post. Thank you so much for passing this. We love this idea. Yeah, I bet you do. And along with this comes a report. Then it's about cyber, but it's also about Iran, and it comes from one of our favorite guys. Kagan! This time from Frederick Kagan, not Robert Kagan, and he works for the AEI? That's was American
Enterprise Institute.
Yes. And together with a guy named Tommy Stiansen, who we'll find out who he is in a moment, created a report titled The Growing Cyber Threat from Iran, initial report of Project Pistachio Harvest. They're running out of ideas for code names. Pistachio Harvest.
And collecting little nuts they have to open by hand.
Well, wait until you hear who's involved in this. So the BBC interview, a lot of BBC today, because you're right, I was watching way too much MSNBC. BBC does a big report on cyber warfare. I think the title was, Is Cyber Warfare Really That Scary? They have a couple of people on, and I pulled out the Kagan quotes from Frederick Kagan himself.
I was one of the people who advocated the surge in Iraq early on, and
good work.
I'm familiar with much nastier attacks and criticisms than I've received on this report.
This is Frederick Kagan, director of the Critical Threats Project at the American Enterprise Institute, an influential conservative think tank in the US. the think tank that produced that divisive report.
Our report looked at Iranian activities in cyberspace, and what we saw is that the Iranians are developing a significant stockpile, basically, of cyber infrastructure that they can use to attack Western infrastructure.
To find out what the Iranians were up to, they looked at data gathered by Norse Intelligence Network.
Do you remember the Norse Intelligence Network, John?
I'm afraid I don't.
The CTO is Tommy Stiansen. So he works at the Norse, N-O-R-S-E, cybersecurity firm, worked directly with AEI and Kagan on this. He's the guy from the IP Viking Live, that fantastic map with all the cyber attacks occurring in real time.
Oh, right, that phony baloney map.
Yes, these are the guys. It's map.ipviking.com. And it has, all the attacks and where they're coming from and pew, 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 pew. In fact, I'm looking right now. Number 1, China. Number 2, U.S. military gov. By the way, I don't see any Iran in their mapping, but apparently they're the number 1 cyber threat. So this otherwise beautifully executed, very scary looking map where all attacks are coming from other countries into the USA.
They're shooting at each other.
Yes, yeah, it's fantastic. So this is the co-founder.
Just pounding Seattle right now.
A cybersecurity company which has several million sensors around the world.
Yeah, these sensors, the million sensors.
These sensors are designed to look like websites for banks, power plants, or universities. They're honeypots to lure a would-be hacker.
We discovered a number of rather stealthy attempts by...
I had to stop for a second. Rather stealthy? What the hell does that mean?
Doesn't mean anything.
Some systems based in Iran to identify vulnerabilities in Western systems that would have allowed the Iranians to take full control over those systems if they had been actual systems and if the attacks had been successful.
This is where the controversy begins.
Controversy.
Our first expert witness, Robert Lee, says that to call this kind of cyber activity an attack is misleading.
I'll say BBC had a very balanced piece with an expert who said this is all bullcrap, but we play that role. We didn't need him for it.
Instead, he describes it as scanning, someone looking for access to websites.
Port scanning, yeah.
While some scanning has malicious intent, it's not in itself an attack, he says. It's like a burglar scoping the outside of your house, looking for a way in. He hasn't stolen anything yet.
Well, the main body of that criticism actually misrepresents our report. We don't anywhere say that there were thousands of attacks on industrial control systems, for example. We identify 65 attacks on an industrial control system.
So do you stand by the use of the word attack to describe those 65 activities that you just mentioned?
I absolutely do. We use the term in accord with standard industry definitions that include collection of information and not just damaging systems, and that's part of the standard NSA definition for attack.
I love that. Collecting information on port availability is defined as a cyber attack by NSA.
I didn't know that. Can you go to that map for a second?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold on.
I want to ask you a couple of things.
Okay. It's very heavy on resources.
Okay.
It's all right.
I don't see how that can be, but I guess it is.
Well,
but just go there for a minute. You can kind of hook it after.
Yeah, it's coming up now. Map.ipviking.com. For some reason. Oh, yeah. Is it coming now? Yeah. Yes. All right. Got it.
Okay. At the very bottom, there's some in the middle of the ocean near the Antarctica. There's a spot that's just got tons of activity. What is that? A ship?
I see what you're talking about. It has a little, like an octagonal icon. I don't know. Is it clickable?
Oh, that's a good question. Never thought of that.
You'd expect it to be clickable. No?
Oh, yeah, it is.
And what is
it? When you put the cursor on it, it shows you its main targets.
Right, but what is it? Who are they?
You click it, doesn't do shit. I don't know. And here's another one. Go straight up from that, and there's a thing outside in the middle, kind of in the Atlantic Ocean, off the African coast.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see that too. Huh?
What is that?
Is it a pirate ship?
Hey, ahoy, matey!
Maybe the mapping API is off. That's a good question. I don't know what those are.
Now, here's another last question.
Yes.
you see China and the Korean Peninsula.
Yes.
What's good? There's nothing going on in China. Are you kidding me?
I have one blip up there.
Yeah, there's one blip and it's not doing anything.
Yeah. And of course, immediately, as chat room will say, is, well, they can mask IP addresses. Duh.
Right.
And
there's nothing in Alaska either. This thing is bull.
It's a beautiful setup. All the money is right here in the honey pots. This map is what does it.
And here's the money thing on the right. It says attack targets, number 1 in the world with 578 as we speak.
Yeah.
United States.
Yeah.
The second attack target is the .mil.gov, United States.
Yeah.
And then we go from 600 to a total of 800 attacks going on against us right now. And then Russia has 28 attacks against it. China's got apparently none. This is just a thing to set up to get money. All these bull crappers that, let's say we got to do cyber, billions of dollars need to be spent.
Here is the pitch that Kagan provides why we need to, I guess, engage Viking Norse, the company that wrote this report with him, put screenshots of that attack map in the report, and this is all related to Iran.
Frederick Kagan says people need to wake up to the threat.
Look, I've spent this discussion with you trying not to overhype the cyber threat, but the reality is that a very skilled and determined attacker who spends a lot of time preparing for an attack can do an enormous amount of damage to our critical infrastructure and cause a lot of people to die and do a phenomenal amount of economic damage.
Did you hear that? Cause a lot of people to die. Who has died from a cyber attack so far? It would cause a lot of people to die. Please.
And make it very difficult to recover.
So are those scenarios of a cyber Pearl Harbor plausible?
Could we have a massive cyber attack that did a huge amount of damage and was a surprise? Yes, absolutely we could.
Governments might not plan this kind of attack from a standing start, he says. Rather, it could come about through rival states testing each other's boundaries and slipping into cyber war.
The scenarios that keep me up at night are scenarios of miscalculation. There's always this probing around perceived red lines. And there's always the question of what do we think we can get away with. And in the context of a world that has become incredibly violent, the risk of miscalculation is high.
That's right. You got to get your calculus in order, I guess. So we don't. Why take the risk? Let's just get some security, buy some stuff. Why take a risk?
Why take a chance?
Why take a chance? Precisely.
There was way you were reading or playing that clip. There was a massive cyber attack that took place. I mean, it was so much red, it almost covered the complete screen, all aimed at Seattle.
Huh.
And then it just dropped off.
Good work. Always good to know the Kagans are on the case.
Yeah.
Setting up Norse.
There's money to be made, from government money to be had, as simple as writing a check. We need to get in on this deal.
Well, we could have known. We were on this Norse deal a long time ago. We're just dumb.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not dumb. We're lazy. We're just lazy.
Yeah, we're actually not dumb, but lazy does apply.
Yeah, because after the show, I'm done.
No, we're not lazy either. No. We just aren't. I don't know what it is. I think we just can't. I don't think we need to get on the scam bandwagon yet. And I think that's what it amounts to.
Right. Well, time for podcasts to embrace capitalism, John.
Yeah, well, it would be living the life for Riley getting on this bandwagon. I got to kill this thing. Boom.
Yeah.
All right. What is this Kim and Rodin follow-up? It's a clip I put here. I don't know what
that's Kim Jong-un, I'm sure.
I don't know. Is it?
You want to go back to that? I don't mind.
Just play it.
A former government contractor whose case ignited a controversy over the Obama administration's targeting of journalists has been freed after 10 months in prison.
I got it, yeah.
Stephen Kim was convicted of leaking documents on North Korea to Fox News. Kim was charged under the Espionage Act, the nearly century-old law which was also used to classify Fox News reporter James Rosen a co-conspirator in the case. Right. Kim has always maintained his innocence.
Right. The president had a very interesting, he was on a panel, which was the poverty panel. That wasn't the exact title, but that was the topic, was poverty. And I can see our president, as he's on his way out, he has really been making his mark. And I believe racism that is definitely being hyped by the entire administration and followed on nicely by the media, is a big part of what he wants to leave as his legacy. Like, I helped Black Americans. In addition, I killed Osama bin Laden, obviously. What else will be in there? Just let's bitch about Fox News while we're at it. Did you see this panel that he was on?
Yeah, I have a clip.
I have 4 clips, short ones.
Okay, once you play, you got more clips. Play them.
Okay, well, I'll start with the Fox News one.
It was funny.
The Fox, funny, but no, I don't think it's funny. Doesn't he have better things to do?
I think the effort to suggest that the poor are sponges, leeches, don't want to work.
Now, is he confusing Atlas Shrugged with Fox News? I don't think I've ever seen anyone anywhere on American news, so-called news programs, ever say the poor are leeches and sponges. That's directly from Atlas.
It's very old, the phraseology that my dad, World War II vet, would have said sponges. But nobody says sponges.
But even your dad, does he talk about the poor that way?
No, he would talk about friends of his that were sponges.
Right, but apparently Fox News calls poor people sponges and leeches, according to the president of the United States.
I've never heard that. We'd have a clip of it.
Yeah, we would. Of course, it'd be funny.
Or don't want to work, are lazy, are undeserving, got traction. And look, it's still being propagated.
Where did it get traction? I'm not seeing it.
I mean, I have to say that, if you watch Fox News on a regular basis, it is a constant menu. They will find, like, folks who make me mad. I don't know where they find them, right? They're all like, I don't want to work. I just want a free Obama phone or whatever. And that becomes an entire narrative, right? That gets worked up.
Right.
And you very rarely do you hear an interview of a waitress, which is much more typical, who's raising a couple of kids and is doing everything right, but still can't pay the bills.
Actually, I see a lot of that everywhere. That's the one thing I do see.
And so if we're going to change how John Boehner and Mitch McConnell think, we're going to have to change how our body politic thinks, which means we're going to have to change how the media reports on these issues.
Okay. So I thought that was funny, that he saw the Obama phone thing. That was, okay, that's funny. But then he goes into, well, here it is. People don't like being poor.
This is hard being poor. People don't like being poor. And it's time consuming. It's stressful. It's hard. And so
it's hard being poor. Hello, Captain Obvious.
Over time, families frayed. Men who could not get jobs left. Mothers who are single are not able to read as much to their kids. So all that was happening 40 years ago to African Americans. And now what we're seeing is that those same trends have accelerated and they're spreading to the broader community.
But his messaging here is, it was just black people, now it's everybody. Yeah, that's called...
What kind of thinking is going on in his head?
Well, this is not...
When I became president, it was just black people, now it's everybody.
Good work. Yeah, put that on your library. All right. That's how do we talk about rich people then? This would be interesting.
25 hedge fund managers made more than all the kindergarten teachers in the country. So when I say that, I'm not saying that because I dislike hedge fund managers or I think they're evil. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that you're paying a lower rate than a lot of folks who are making $300,000 a year. You pretty much have more than you'll ever be able to use and your family will ever be able to use. There's a fairness issue involved here. And by the way, if we were able to close that loophole, I can now invest in early childhood education that will make a difference. That's where the rubber hits the road.
Institute a wealth tax.
Where the question of compassion, I'm my brother's keeper, comes into play. And if we can't ask from society's lottery winners.
This was interesting. Society's lottery winners.
Now, my understanding, my take on this. First of all, a hedge fund manager is not a lottery winner. He works hard and he has to learn a skill, even though it's a skill that I'm sure a lot of people can learn. But it doesn't just fall into the money. A lottery winner is a guy who invests a couple $1,000s into a startup, and then next thing you know, he's a billionaire or whatever, or $100 millionaire like overnight when he didn't read. That's a lottery winner, and there's plenty of them. But to call the hedge fund guys a lottery winner, I mean, they make a lot of money, or they're a lottery winner because they got into that business by accident, perhaps. But it's bull crap, lottery winner.
Well, he brings it up again in his discussion. This is about there's a fairness issue, so I guess you have to distribute it, which is where you get the wealth tax from, which we don't need to go into that again. Very controversial, by the way, your viewpoints on that. But he brings it up again here in talking about how money with the lottery winners has really ripped apart our society.
We don't dispute that the free market is the greatest producer of wealth in history. It has lifted billions of people out of poverty. We believe in property rights, rule of law, so forth. But there has always been trends in the market in which concentrations of wealth can lead to some being left behind. And what's happened in our economy is that those who are doing better and better, more skilled, more educated, luckier, having greater advantage, are withdrawing from sort of the commons. Kids start going to private schools. Kids start working out at private clubs instead of the public parks. An anti-government ideology then disinvests from those common goods and those things that draw us together. And that, in part, contributes to the fact that there's less opportunity for our kids, all of our kids.
I mean, it's really like he read Atlas Shrugged and just want to. All of this comes directly from that.
Maybe he read Atlas Shrugged,
and it's in an interesting way. Education Secretary Arne Duncan has a thought of what to do with these kids that we can't send to early education, then who are clearly, because apparently only today's rich people have private clubs. Okay. No, I don't think that's true. Poverty today is very different than poverty in the past because, well, we have Kardashians. So at least you're entertained while you're eating wood chips.
That's kind of crickets. A private club.
Yeah, very private club. This is Arne Duncan about what he believes the federal government in the United States should do with poor children.
I think all of our schools should be community centers. Our schools should be open 12, 13, 14 hours a day with a wide variety of after-school programming. Thankfully, in the vast, vast majority of communities around the nation, our schools are actually safe havens. Very little violence happening in our schools. It's really happening, the vast majority is on the streets. If we could keep our kids there longer, we think that makes a lot of sense.
Keep the kids a little longer.
More vocational programs, more chances for folks to figure out what they're learning in school, how is that relevant to where they go the rest of their lives. And then one idea I threw out that I wanted to sort of road test it with the kids too, I thought, is the idea of public boarding schools. And that's a little bit of a different idea or a controversial idea. But the question is, do we have some children where there's not a mom, there's not a dad, there's not a grandma, there's just nobody home? And there's certain kids we should have 24/7 to really create a safe environment and give them a chance.
Schule. Put them in Schule.
You hear his little slip at the beginning?
At the very beginning?
Yeah.
I guess not.
I think
Go ahead. I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
You can listen for it. After school programming.
Oh, my goodness.
I think all of our schools should be community centers. Our schools should be open 12, 13, 14 hours a day with a wide variety of after-school programming.
Nailed it. Good catch. Yeah, when he means it, by the way. It's not a slip.
It was not he didn't stumble. He went right into it after school programming.
That is.
You will obey.
Yeah, you will obey and come to the Schule, the kindergarten, the pre-kindergarten. We grow the children in the Schule 24/7. And I like we should have those kids 24/7. Wow, what is happening, people? What is going on?
That is really bad.
Yeah. And
that guy, he's an idiot.
Duncan, yeah. Did you see the new TV show Blackish?
Yeah, well, I've seen it. Yeah, I saw it when it first came out.
I'm surprised you didn't pull a clip from it.
I've thought about it. It's a comedy, and it has all kinds of screwball memes, and it's I'm kind of fascinated by the show, but I find it less and less entertaining. It's almost like a racist show, even though it's all blacks.
Yes, and someone sent me one episode to look at, and this is, I don't know if this might be the first one. I have no idea which episode this is. And it's a all black family. It's kind of like a modern Huxtables, I would say, where except the mom is really smart.
Funnier.
Yeah, funnier, and the mom is really smart. She's the doctor in this one. Then there's 3 kids, and the son, who's I guess the middle kid, has 4 kids. So only one boy, and he in the morning claims that he's a Republican, and the reason why he's a Republican because this really hot chick who's in the young Republicans, and he's all in on Republican. He's a Republican, and this is how this episode starts.
Bo, we have a problem. Junior is a Republican.
Well, that's okay.
What?
So he wants to shop at Banana Republic. They have a crazy generous return policy.
No. You're not getting it. All right? He's a Republican.
A notary public? Well, that's a noble profession. Will save us tons of time.
Bo! A Republican!
A member of the Irish Republican Army?
What the hell?
Okay. So if you got to take down a couple of fish and chip shops to be free of British rule, Dre, you got to do what you got to do.
No! Ronald Reagan.
You see, it's so hard for anyone to believe that the black kid is becoming a Republican that they have to go through this. Oh, what do you mean?
Ann Coulter, Fox News, Tea Party. Bo! Republican!
Republican?
Yes!
No!
Yes!
No!
Yes!
No!
Yes!
We don't do that, Dre! We are compassionate liberals who believe in tolerance, acceptance, open...
Yeah, whatever, but we're black, all right? That's all that matters. We're black.
When did he start believing that immigrants should go back across the border, that evolution doesn't exist?
and hate women, throwing that in, and love guns and all this stuff. It's a comedy show.
Now, I don't know. I know that a little bit there. You don't know how much of that is satire and how much of that is propaganda. But it does address the issue, which is, all blacks should be Democrats because they were propagandized into that some years ago.
And during the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the president specifically called out some of the actors from Blackish who were there.
Oh, well, as you know, I stupidly missed that.
And so I can play you a clip from the Lear Foundation, Marty Kaplan.
So
yes.
In the course of our work, this is in the 2 years, 11 to 13, 335 storylines that we worked on have been aired. We've worked with 35 networks in the past 4 years. 91 different television shows.
Yeah. Well, add 92. And that would also...
But I still say the way that was written was so over the top that it may have been a satire. Maybe they got the word, we got to do this.
It's the only... Of course, you can't get away with it if it's really mean, but it's still being said.
Yeah.
It's smartly
whoever
done.
caught that. See, I haven't stopped watching the show, but I suspect there would be something like that in that show.
And no coincidence or totally understandable, CSI Cyber has been renewed for the second season. Yeah.
Dumbest show ever. No, I take it back. That other show that you liked.
The Bombshell. Was it called? Yeah, that one. Yes. But I will remind everybody that there are new rules. Since 2013, we have been under new rules with the National Defense Authorization Act, where the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed, meaning the United States government is now completely legally able to propagandize its own citizens. And this seems like exactly what is going on here. And it's just, it's all happening at the same time. Everything so coincidental. It all just kind of comes around neatly in a nice little bundle.
Well, the Republican National Committee should be, except with that rinse and repeat Priebus guy.
Yeah.
He is such a loser that I don't. They just let this stuff happen. I mean, that clip alone that you play, and you play it a lot, and I think it should be played a lot, of the guy from the Lear Foundation overtly making TV shows do propaganda. I don't know what it is for pay. I bet you it is. I bet you there's money involved. And the reason I suggest that is because it's apparent that NCIS, the most popular show on television, and NCIS LA have competing agendas insofar as their messaging is concerned. The NCIS show has pro-government, anti-terrorist. So it just sounds like it came straight out of this. I like the show anyway because I think the characterizations are great. But it's all pro-government propaganda, and the NCIS LA seems to be anti-government propaganda. It's got all kinds of like negative twists where they, it's so apparent if anyone watches the two shows that there's one of the shows, I believe, after listening to that Lear clip again, is getting paid to put this stuff in, and they'll be glad to do it. And the other show's not, and they're irked about it, and so that's why they go in the other direction.
But the nice thing about it is the American public loves it, and the worldwide public loves it. They just love it. They eat it. Now, did you see it's not worth playing because the audio doesn't do anything. Actually, it's a poorly done trailer, I think. Minority Report, the TV series. Did you see this?
No, I did not.
Okay. So Minority Report was based on pre-crime. And it was Tom Cruise, wasn't it? In the movie, yeah. Tom Cruise, yes. And they had this way to see that a crime was going to happen. So if someone was just thinking about it, and he'd have to go and you get arrested because you were committing a pre-crime. In the way I understand the television show from the trailer, there are two people who received all of the pre-crime scenery. So it's all programmed in their head, and they now have to go out to protect the people who are about to be murdered. It's like completely flipping it around in a very strange...
They changed the premise of the story, which is an absolute... I think it's one of those famous... with that science fiction guy, I can't remember his name offhand, but he's out, the chat room knows. Great writer, great storyteller. And so they say, let's do it this way?
Yeah.
It's going to be a fail. That story is delicate. You can't really... It's
going to be a fail because I don't think the lead girl is hot. She needs to be hotter. That's come on. I know television. I know how this works, John. They have bad casting, poorly cast. Let's see.
Well,
yeah, before we move into...
You seem to have stalled out here. Let's play...
Well, I have a number of things. I just didn't quite know where to go, so I'll let you...
Well, let's talk about the stupid location for the Obama Library, the Obama South Side clip.
Okay.
With a library and a foundation on the South Side of Chicago, not only will we be able to encourage and affect change locally, but what we can also do is to attract the world to Chicago.
Now, Southside Chicago, I don't know if you've ever been there. I haven't been there recently, but I've been there, and it's a crap hole. It's a shithole. This library is going to be the only one in the country with graffiti all over it. So I just thought that was the dumbest thing, and it has something to do with helping Rahm Emanuel. Because he had his other choices. Hawaii's the place to put it. They don't have, and they'll never have opportunity like that. Okay, I got another one. So I'm watching a kids show, and I'm thinking, somehow Adam's gotten us some free publicity.
Oh, Adam, me?
Yeah. And I'm thinking that we wanted to congratulate you because the show is the first thing that came to mind when I saw this little show. And look at play Apple and the Ant. You have to tolerate it. It goes 40 seconds, but Apple and the Ant.
We begin with the letter A. A. A is for ant.
Ant.
The ant found an apple.
Apple.
Apple starts with A. Uh-oh. What is the ant going to do now? It's jumping on the tree. Stop where the apple will fall. Oh no, the apple is falling. Oh, somebody caught the apple. Who has the apple now? Hey, look. That's Adam. Adam has the apple now.
You're right.
I was genius. How did you get that in there?
You're right. And
as soon as I saw that, I said, no agenda came right to mind.
You're right. I'll say that you're right. 40 seconds of my life.
Oh.
Amen. Fist bump.
Hands clapping, thumbs up.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
Well, we do have some people to thank for show. What is this, 721? 721, including Cole Callistra in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. He wants some jobs, Karma. We'll put that at the end. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And also from Dame Elizabeth Borazan, who gave me a check for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the Twit Cottage.
Oh, how nice.
Got to say hi to her.
Was that when you took the show off the rails?
Yeah, well, I always take the show off the rails.
Good work.
I must be banned.
Yeah.
And so she left me a note, which I conveniently lost, but she wanted, and I think since she's a dame and she did this in person, she wanted some general karma for some specific thing.
All right.
You've got karma.
So Reddy Kilowatt, a.k.a. John Grumling from Battlement Mesa, Colorado, a nice name for a town, 7373.
Yes, I will do it today. I'm sorry, I messed that up. He wanted me to record a PSA about field day. It's happening today after the show. I apologize.
73s to him. Kojeg.
Right.
Kojeg. Richard Altman in Winnipeg, Manitoba, $63. Sir Nick of the South Side, Herndon, Virginia, $55.14. Green Team Cleaning in Manchester, New Hampshire, $55.10. Sir Thomas Nussbaum in Virginia Beach, Virginia, $51.15 to celebrate the Oxymoron Week, which is kind of oxymoron.
Palindrome
Week. It's an unusual week of palindromes. Every day it's a palindrome.
According to the U.S. calendar, it is, yeah.
Yes, I said that specifically.
I know. Very good.
Ralph Massaro in Kirkland, Washington, home of Costco originally. Kaylin Nistor in Northville, Michigan, $55.15. Joe Wagner, $55.15, Atlanta, Georgia. He also has a
douchebag call-out?
He's got a douchebag call-out. Let's see, where is it? Please call out Zach and Mike
Douchebag.
As douchebags. They listen regularly, Zach and Mike do, and I've never heard their names in the donation segments. I would recommend you confirm that they're douchebags by asking them.
Which would be that would be a douchebag check.
Douchebag check. Exactly.
Yeah.
Matthew Mullen in Brick, New Jersey, $51.15. Anthony Garlanger in Downers Grove, Illinois, Downers, which is a cow that's dead in the field, $51.15. He's got another douchebag call. Let's see what we got here.
Douchebag check. No, douchebag check.
All right.
Can I get a douchebag call out for Humana Insurance?
Douchebag.
The state of Illinois.
Douchebag. It's a big douchebag.
And the whole big douchebag. And Kyle Shepman.
Douchebag.
All right. He's going overboard. He never donates. He's going overboard. He doesn't have to donate. Jason Daniels in Dallas, Texas. 5115. Matthew Mongan in Baltimore, Maryland. Go down here, Baltimore, Maryland. Brad Bauer in Chicago, Illinois. And he's got a, please call out this douchebag day.
Wait, no. Matthew has something else.
Oh, that was Brad Bauer. I'm sorry, Brad Bauer.
Wait, but I want to read. Matthew says, giving you a portion of the first money I have made as a lawyer. Nice. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you.
Brad Bauer is calling out Mike Hernelstein. Douchebag. And we'll put some job karma at the end for you. Bradford Ramsey in Wichita Falls, Texas, 5115. Aaron Rush, 5115. Avon, South Dakota. Arthur Santos in Stanmore, Middlesex, UK, 5115. And the rest of these are $50 donations, starting with Charles Evans of Hawthorne Woods.
Eves.
Eves. Charles Eves in Hawthorne Woods, Illinois. Sam Minkkinen in Espoo, Finland. Brian Matthews in Balbriggan, Dublin, Ireland. David Pete in Aubrey, Texas, we're up the street from you. Sir Mike Westerfield, $50 from Parts Unknown. Patricia Worthington in Miami, Florida. Brandon Savoy, $50. Jacob Wozniak, not sure. I should know. North Vancouver, BC, Vancouver. John Anderson, Youngsville, Louisiana. Matthew Livingston in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. John, is he a Sir John Straight? I don't know.
It sounds right.
Yes, and then San Antonio, and he concludes the list of donors for show 721, which is now listed up there again with a number.
And also we need to credit Chris Mail. He was credited as Tiny Progs, but it was Chris Mail for his...
we did put it on the list.
In the credits, yes, of course.
But we didn't call his name because we were confused.
Shit happens. That's what happens.
Yeah. But thanks, Chris.
And that's it?
Mm-hmm. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, I got an email from Annie.
Annie, get your gun.
Hi, Adam and John. No Agenda has inspired me in the classroom for my final week of student teaching. I collaborated with my mentor teacher to do a mini unit called Breaking the Media Mind Control. Wait a minute, we should do that differently. Breaking the Media Mind Control. We're going to have students compare the words and phrases being used surrounding the Baltimore riots from different sources. They will look at the words used during other riots in the U.S. and compare how people are being categorized. Nice. The end result will be deciding if using the word thug is intentionally used to dehumanize these people and diminish the importance of their poverty. Thank you, Annie. This makes me very happy, particularly on a day where donations are still low. You know, I like this. This shows that we're making a difference for the young people, John.
Well, for some young people, and I think it's great that some teachers have picked up on this because it's more entertaining. The kids, I believe, if I was a kid and I had a teacher that was going to have me do this sort of analysis, and I could find little things and talk about, oh, look at, they use this term instead. That were the what's his name, Sunny Farms guy, who said the head of the Department of Education,
Arnie Duncan.
Yeah, Sunny Farms. And when he says programming,
exactly,
after school programming,
right?
I mean, come on,
right?
This is a gem,
and I would
kids love that stuff. Kids love to discover.
Then I would encourage your kids in this mini unit to use search.nashownotes.com. Every single article we have ever had in the show notes, and a lot of them discussed, but certainly not all have offline copies stored in searchable format through search.nashownotes.com. Years of, not all, because we didn't really start with a good system till a couple of years into the show, but it's a good reason. I got something with Rackspace happened, and I got an email, one of those innocuous emails, like, there's a ticket for, and I have 3 servers at Rackspace. I have no idea what's going on. So if I get into bed, I'm tired, I've been doing prep, I've been listening to douchebags, it's 1:30, and I see a tweet saying, oh man, search.na show notes is down. And the server had stopped responding or whatever. And so, up until 2 in the morning, I'm restarting this and getting it all set up again because people really use it. It's a valuable resource. all a part of the No Agenda Show package. Exactly.
Dvorak.org/NA.
He said package. We say happy birthday to Sir Nick of the South Side celebrating today. Sammy Minikin says happy birthday to his son Lassie. Turns 9 on the 15th. And although she didn't request it, we say happy birthday to Dame Francine Hardaway from all your buddies here at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
Hey, Dame Francine. She will not request it herself, but I caught it, so I'm happy we
Good for you.
Happy we can
Well,
say
you should.
Happy birthday to her. 2 knightings today, so and a very important one with Sir John Fletcher. So grab your sword there, Johnny boy.
Got it.
Okay, that was the short version. Seth Griffin and John Fletcher, step on up, gentlemen. You are about to become knights of the No Agenda Round Table. Very proud to pronounceate thee, Sir Seth Griffin and Sir Fletcher of Cockermouth Castle. Gentlemen, for you, hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay, whiskey and wet wipes, 3 geishas and a bucket of fried chicken, hot pants and booze, root beer and Legos, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, porn stars and pot. But of course, for you, always the backup, mutton and mead. And thank you, Sir John Fletcher, for contributing very significantly to the program with your Fletcher Fest shout-outs. You can find them at 720.noagendanotes.com. The previous episode, we had an entire bundle of them, all that were put out there. And if your name is one of the names, kind of like the license plate you see in tourist shops, then you're in luck. You get a freebie. And did we want...
I need a hug.
Did we want to continue our pie donations with the shocked?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll put it in
the newsletter.
Probably,
I want to
probably
get
next, the next, not the Saturday newsletter.
Yeah, I'd like to get it rolling properly. I think it's a good idea.
So we have to. So it has to be thought out in some meaningful way. But it'll be another pie.
And here is the jobs karma that is often requested.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Yay. Okay. I believe it would be prudent to talk about the TPP, since it is being so mischaracterized in the press, where I've even seen articles saying the House, they're going to pass, which they didn't, but they're going to pass the TPP. And your girlfriend, you know who she is. Here's your girlfriend, Barbara Boxer. She stood up in Congress and said crazy things about this TPP.
Let me get this sentence straight. Barbara Boxer said crazy things. Let me write that down.
I prefaced it by saying she's your girlfriend.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
And, of course, Elizabeth Warren is now in a public feud with the president about and it's not the TPP that's being voted on, it's the Trade Promotion Authority, which, and I read the document, it's 133 pages. It's kind of a guideline to set out what will be negotiated from the United States side. I didn't really see anything nefarious in it other than, obviously it's part of the New World Order program, duh. But all this, yelling and screaming, and Barbara Boxer even says blatantly untrue things, but apparently she went to a TPP meeting. She wasn't allowed to take notes. And here's what she was talking about.
Well, let me tell you what you have to do to read this agreement.
And now she's talking about the TPP, which is being negotiated in secret, not the TPA, which is what is being voted on.
Follow this. You can only take a few of your staffers who happen to have a security clearance because God knows why this is secure. This is classified. It has nothing to do with defense. It has nothing to do with going after ISIS. It has nothing to do with any of that. But it is classified. So I go down with my staff that I could get to go with me.
Here's the scary thing. This woman has classified clearance. That's what's frightening.
And as soon as I get there, the guard says to me, hand over your electronics. Okay, I give over my electronics. Then the guard says, You can't take notes. I said, I can't take notes. Well, you can take notes, but you have to give them back to me, and I'll put them in a file. So I said, wait a minute. I'm going to take notes, and then you're going to take my notes away from me, and then you're going to have them in a file, and you can read my notes. Not on your life. So instead of standing in a corner trying to figure out to bring a trade bill to the floor that doesn't do anything for the middle class, that is held so secretively that you need to go down there and hand over your electronics and give up your right to take notes and bring them back to your office, they ought to come over here and figure out how to help the middle class, how to extend the highway bill, how to raise the minimum wage, how to move toward clean energy, how to fix our currency manipulation that we see abroad.
All right. So I think she's confused. I don't even think she knows what she's talking about. The Trade Promotion Authority has been commonplace in the United States government since, I think, 72 or 74. It is not an abnormal thing. For some reason, everybody's got their panties in a bunch about this. And by the way, the TPA specifically states that negotiations from the U.S. side will be about currency manipulation. So she hasn't even read the fucking bill. Get this woman out. Why is everyone all freaked out about this, John? And I saw, what's his name? The union guy, not Ditka, Mitka. What's
well, that's one of the things, the union guy. Yeah. They believe that this enactment, there's two problems. One is they're going to give a fast track ability to Obama. That's what he wants, so that he can just take care of this without a bunch of fuss.
But I just want to stop you there. I read this thing, and it addresses all concerns. It clearly states what the United States position will be in the negotiations.
Okay.
It's not just, you can do whatever you want, and there's an up and down vote. No,
well, what is it she's talking about that she can't read, she can't take notes of?
I believe she's talking about. I think she's talking about the specific, the actual deal, the real TPP.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about. And nobody seems to be able to look at this. I think it's just a secrecy thing. I think they're fed up. Because
it makes total sense to me.
So under wraps.
But it makes sense to me because you'll never get anything done if everything is in public. It'll just go on for 10 years.
Well, somehow it's bothersome. You're like a senator, let's say you are, and you can't do anything. This thing is going on. It's super secret. You want it to go on for 10 years. I mean, one of the reasons that we have the government set up the way it is so to really make it difficult to get things done. Because when you just start doing stuff willy-nilly, it never works out. It's always crap. It's because and then you got to do more stuff to fix what you've screwed up to begin with.
Right.
And that's the way the system works. The system is like, that's when people say, these government workers, they don't do any work. I'm always of the opinion. In fact, when I was a government worker myself, I promoted this idea, is you don't want them working. It's kind of a form of welfare.
Yeah.
You just work, you go shopping. Let them go shopping, because if they're working, they're causing trouble. And
right.
And I think that's the case with this. And the normal situation would be exactly what you said. It would never get done. Maybe it shouldn't get done. Maybe that's the point.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's just, I know it's an off-the-wall theory.
Well, I'm all in. I love it because we need to get to this point much faster. I want to witness the New World Order and the collapse and the fight and the revolution.
Well, if it works out properly, you're not going to manage it because it's never going to happen. Because of these guys, like you just said, I think you maybe hit the nail on the head. If everybody was in on this, it would never move along. It would just be... And so, because right now, if they just pass this thing and we did this trade deal, that's why the Democrats turned on the president and Elizabeth Warren being one of the leaders.
And she has to apologize. She has to apologize to the president.
Well, the president insulted her, kind of. And they had to address this in the press conference with your buddy Jason Eves.
Yeah. Josh Earnest.
What's his name again? Okay. Yeah,
Josh Earnest, yeah.
Jason Eves. President insults Warren. You see, there's a mountain out of a molehill.
One more on the trade question, the substance of what Senator Brown said. He said the president had been disrespectful when he suggested that Senator Warren was just another politician. First of all, can you take that part of it? What's the president's response to the allegation that he was being disrespectful?
Well, I believe that specific reference, I should have brought the text in front of me, but I think that the president in the interview was asked directly about Senator Warren, and the president noted that Senator Warren holds elective office as the president does. The president included himself.
Politician, I think was though, yeah.
Yeah, a politician, and I said something
like the president.
Well, I think he said like the rest of us.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's an indication that the point the president's making is that she's making a political argument. The president's making a political argument too, and we can have a robust difference of opinion and a robust debate. And the point is, though, that this doesn't reflect a difference in values.
I believe this will ultimately lead to a splintering of the Democratic Party if it continues, where Elizabeth Warren has only said she can always decide to run for president. And maybe that's why this trade deal, because we don't know what's in it, we don't know what's in it. Yeah, there's leaked stuff, fine. But until we see it, it doesn't exist. And maybe that's why there's the Democrats have voted against the president, not so much to be against the president, but to have a secret weapon to get the defiant child, Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, into the fold as the savior of America, the savior of the unions who are huge in supporting Democratic campaigns, certainly presidential elections. I'm not saying that I'm convinced, but it could be a way to do it.
Well, there's got to be something done because people are taking a dislike to her over all this stuff going on. I didn't get any good Hillary clips.
I have a couple of Hillary 2016 clips, not related directly to this, but the first one would be now this is about her brother, Tony Rodham. Now, we first heard from our Uber, we had discussed it previously, but our Uber sources reiterated that Hillary Clinton's brother received a company he's working with or consulting with received the sole license to extract gold from Haiti. And so now he's...
Right, something we pointed out on the show a number of times.
A long time ago.
Nobody else talks about this.
So here is a CNN panel, and they'll talk about everything except for the gold in Haiti, of course. And they'll also kind of say it's okay.
The allegation is that Hillary Clinton's younger brother has parlayed his relationship with Bill and Hillary Clinton throughout the years to come up with sometimes dubious business deals for himself. Maggie,
you just laid it out pretty well right there. I mean, look, there has been an ongoing focus on the brothers Rodham, right? On Tony and Hugh Rodham, Hillary Clinton's brothers. What was striking about the story that my colleague Steve Eater did is there are these court transcripts where Tony Rodham openly says, I leaned on my brother-in-law to help me. I went through the Clinton Foundation. I mean, he says this. That type of stuff, I think, is very unhelpful. That you were going to see in attack mailers. You were going to see that potentially in ads.
It says here, when Mr. Rodham was short on cash in 2010, Mr. Clinton helped him get a job for $72,000 a year, raising investments in Green Tech Automotive, an electric car company then owned by Terry McAuliffe, an old friend of Mr. Clinton's and now the governor of Virginia. Don't we all help our brothers-in-law?
I was going to say, I'm not sure.
Right, I mean, I agree with
what's
you.
Wrong with that? Well, I was going to say, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
I mean, look,
no, that I think people will forgive helping us.
So he's not he's not a politician, right? Bill Clinton is not in office. It doesn't seem to conflict with her job as Secretary of State. If Bill Clinton helped out the brother-in-law, I don't see that as a scandal.
To me, if there's any issue, I totally agree. I think that people forgive. You help your family. Yeah. You help your brother. I think that the more you see things of, I went to the foundation for help. Now, the foundation says there's no evidence that we did anything that he said. But it's not great.
Isn't it nice how that works? Just obfuscate.
Wow. Talking about taking the thing from, you're driving on a bumpy road and you could go into a ditch, which would be discussing the gold mine deal. But no, you pull off into the freeway and you're home free with it, like actually a nice story. Oh, he needed a job and nobody was affected. But somebody gave him a job for $70,000.
His brother hooked him up and helped him out.
Which anybody would do. Anybody would do that for their brother. He needed money.
So that's some running interference is what we call that for the Clintons. Then this other story, which I've been waiting to figure out what is going on. The story's been around for a while, and then finally I figured out where this is coming from. You've probably heard this somewhere in the past a week before the train derailment.
And the group looking to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill with a woman has now chosen a successor. Abolitionist Harriet Tubman won an online vote. The group now hopes the 600,000 people who voted will help pressure the president to make the change.
So this group, the Women on the $20 Bill, and they had a vote, and we didn't really discuss much of this. The woman who set up this foundation, I believe her name is Barbara Oritz Howard. She worked for Hillary Clinton during her previous presidential campaign. So this would be a great issue that the American people will be able to get behind. Because unfortunately, that's how stupid we are. Yeah, man, that's unfair. We put women on the... So they want to remove Jackson, put the...
Harriet Tubman.
Yeah. Now, it's perfect for... By the way, if anyone should be on the 20, it should be Hillary. I mean, she deserves it. Let's put her on the 20.
She deserves it.
And how does that actually work? As far as I've been able to find, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing decide what money looks like. And this Women on the $20 Bill is calling for the president to change this, which I guess could be...
I think he can direct the Bureau of Engraving to
do that.
I think so.
But it would be, fantastic to... for Hillary to say, look, when I'm president, I will change that. People will love that.
Well, Hillary is in the news for just that. As a matter of fact, it's in Time magazine 2 hours ago. Hillary Clinton shows her support for Harriet Tubman on the 20.
Well, there you go. There you go. Done.
She's all in, and this will get her the black vote that she needs.
It's a perfect combination.
So Obama...
Wait, was Tubman gay by any chance? Was she a lesbian? That would be perfect.
Maybe.
Just add that to it.
Well, no, she did have one child, Gertie Davis, so it's possible that she wasn't or was. I don't know. So Hillary, now this will show you whether Obama is or is not pro-Hillary, because it could be a nice issue for Hillary if Obama doesn't do it.
Right.
Now, so he's going to have to be torn, because here's a black woman who's, a notorious abolitionist. Mm-hmm. I would think all black people were abolitionists during that era. But okay.
It would seem like the right way to lean.
She's a noteworthy one somehow.
Daddy, I want to be a slave.
Yeah. And she was a Union spy, supposedly. I got my degree in American history at the University of California, and I never heard of Harriet Tubman, because I studied the Civil War to an extreme. I didn't hear about her until about, I'd say, 10 or 15 years ago, when I was watching one of those man on the street things. That may have been Jay Leno or somebody say, "Who's freed the slaves?" And nobody knew you could. It wasn't. It was a functional thing, but Lincoln generally gets credited.
Yeah.
So who freed the slave? And nobody said Lincoln. They said all kinds of things. And this one black girl said Harriet Tubman freed the slaves. And then I also started seeing that meme floating around. Right, it was lasting showing up Harriet Tubman, and she freed the slaves. And now she's gotten herself.
Well, we can't have anyone knowing that a Republican freed the slaves.
Well, that's
which Lincoln
was.
So
you went Harriet Tubman. And so now, if Obama wants to play politics and say, okay, Hillary, you should win, even though he should be supporting his vice president. He won't do this, and he'll be out of office, and Hillary can use it as her platform. One of the things she's going to do.
I think we should have, just to go with the whole meme, we should have an $18 bill. Put Tubman on that. Women deserve less. They make less than just subpar citizens in America.
$18.5.
That's right. And then finally, that good old boy, Ricky Santorum, is back.
Yeah.
Ricky Santorum.
See, I don't know why we haven't done this. This is bothersome.
I've been doing this. I've been highlighting the potential.
No, I want to know what the scam is. How much money can you scam when you run for president? There's no way Rick Santorum's going to win anything. He's annoying. He's too tall. He looks like a goofball, and he's always, even though I've seen him smile and have some fun, he's serious and a drip. And nobody wants him as president.
Well,
so why is he running?
Well, if there's money to be made, he's making it from the military-industrial complex. And I'm very disappointed. He's a religious man. I remember them talking about praying with his family, what they should do. A big believer in the church. And then I heard this little riling speech he did.
I have been one who has actually even lectured a previous president on saying that this isn't a war on terror, but it's a war against radical Islam. Terror is a tactic. Islam is an ideology, and we need to be honest with the American public about who the nature of our enemy really is. If these folks want to bring back a 7th century version of Islam, then my recommendation is let's load our bombers up and bomb them back to the 7th century.
Woo! Bomb them, and bomb them again.
Yeah. Woo. That's the old bombing them back to the Stone Age meme.
Yeah, which we've been doing. I don't know if anyone hasn't noticed. We pointed it out. Iraq has been pretty much bombed back to the Stone Age, and if we're not doing it, somebody else is.
Right.
I think it's a policy, and he's just expressing it, noticing that it's actually going on.
Yeah, but it's not. Who does that? McCain does that. All of a sudden, this guy's now like McCain. Ugh. Disgusting.
Yeah, well, he's always kind of been like that.
A lot of, but kind of a crossover, memes colliding here with the F Russia and LGBTQIAAP. Vienna, this is something I follow every year. Vienna will be hosting the Eurovision Song Contest this year, and everybody's ramping up. And to promote the openness of Vienna, they have installed a number of crossing lights which feature gay pedestrians.
I'm sorry?
Yes. So you have, instead of a little red man standing still, there's 2 red men, one with his arm around him. And then when
is bull crap.
It's BBC, and they're showing a picture of it. No, Vienna is doing here. Officials, what do they talk about? Officials said these signals are a sign of Vienna's open-mindedness. Come on, we know what this whole song contest is about. Dude in the dress won last time. Come on. This is Conchita Wurst.
Vienna's gay, straight, and lesbian crossing lights show all walks of life, and this is in The Guardian. Mm-hmm. So they're going to vary these. Oh, here's one with 2 women walking across the street, holding hands with a heart in between them.
Yeah.
City installs pedestrian signals showing same-sex couples, but right-wing politicians come out in opposition. Well, it sounds like they want to just put a little message. There's the guys. That's funny. So the go light is 2 gay women. The stop light is 2 gay men.
No, I have one with 2 gay men with a little heart holding hands walking as well.
Oh, okay.
I just thought it was interesting. Cultural Marxism, just getting everybody into thinking
very
different.
Strange.
Finally, staying on the gay tip, ISIS fighters have listened to the show. I've told them you need to start killing gays if you want to get any traction in the U.S. media. And the latest example of ISIS's barbarity towards gays, members are pretending to make passes at suspected homosexuals to draw them out, only to kill them. Yeah. I'm sure that's happening. And then the double whammy, of course, we all know that Vladimir Putin hates gays. Putin! Hates gays. All of Russia hates gays. Can't be gay and speak Russian. Hates gays. And Sweden has some activist group, the, what are they called? The Swedish Peace and Arbitration Society.
Voices in Sweden are being raised to rearm and increase the military budget with $1.9 billion. The Swedish Peace and Arbitration Society wants to discuss a more effective way than violence and aggression to solve conflicts. Instead of...
I should have set this up better. This is based on the multiple reports that there were Russian submarines off the Swedish waters, which was never proven, but was hyped quite a bit in anticipation, I guess, of more defense spending.
Right. This was a month ago or something like that.
Yeah. And so this is the solution that has taken place.
Angry threats. Any visitors will now receive a warm welcome. The Swedish Peace and Arbitration Society proudly presents The Singing Sailor.
Now, did you see this thing, the singing sailor? It is a watertight neon sign of a depiction of a gay sailor, moving his hips, like the neon flashes back and forth, and there's a little code. So it's underwater. I'm sorry, there's got this disco music.
The sailor sends out a Morse code to any visitors nearby.
And the Morse code says, "This way if you're gay." This is their big way to stop Vladimir Putin from sending Russian submarines. They're going to distract them with the underwater gay sailor.
Wow.
You got to see this thing. You got to see it.
Definitely will go back and look at. That is outrageous.
Yeah, well, anything goes. Despite our white paper that Brian the Gay Crusader put together, you can find that at search.shownotes.com. The ruling is not the way it has been portrayed, but okay, that's all. That's fine. Well, and then I have.
Kerry was in Russia though, and he met with Putin. What that was all
I thought
about. They never really explained it.
I don't think did he meet with Putin? I thought he only met with the foreign minister.
He was a meeting with the foreign minister character.
It was underplayed, that meeting. Though.
And then Putin, he had a long meeting with Putin. He talked about a long meeting. In fact, well, just to prove it, Kerry in Russia, play that clip and we get that out of the way.
Okay.
Secretary of State John Kerry's met with Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov and President Vladimir Putin in a trip to Moscow. It's the highest level Russia visit by a U.S. official since the Ukraine crisis began over a year ago. Kerry said the meeting was frank and constructive.
I am grateful to President Putin for the significant amount of time that he made available to this discussion, for his directness, and for his...
He didn't kill that. It's just him yabbering. This says nothing. Right. Says nothing.
Okay.
But there was some meeting. They never said what it was about.
That is interesting. Also, that it was so underplayed is interesting.
Oh, it's only Democracy Now! Really played it up.
I love that you do that. I never have to watch Democracy Now! It's really fantastic. No, I mean that. That's how the show should work. People do not have to look at news. Just, if you want to dive in deeper, that's easy. But if you want some headlines that make a difference, I think we're a pretty good way to go. For instance, this will be my throwaway, okay? This is my throwaway. Do you recall we were talking about the meme of people running up on live news camera shoots and yelling, F her right in the pussy?
Yeah, that was a short-lived one.
No.
3 victims were part of a CXS group. Fuck her right in the pussy!
Oh, my goodness. And
it took crews longer than anticipated to find the crack in the 64-year-old pipeline. I'm standing here with Fred, who says he was greatly impacted by the gushing of oil. Can you tell us a little more of what you saw?
I sure can. I was sitting on my front porch, grabbed a beer, and fuck her right in the pussy.
So this has not stopped. And CNN, I saw it this morning, had this huge piece about some reporter who stood up to people propagating this meme. This is more family safe. I'm sorry, I should have pre-announced that particular clip. I was just trying to remind us of what this meme is. And you look at that on YouTube. It's all over. It's being done everywhere. Everywhere in the world this is being done.
It's crazy. It's not even funny.
Well, the people who don't think it's funny are the reporters. A lot of them.
I would, if I was a reporter doing a live feed, a stand-up, I'd be very annoyed by this.
Reporters are used to being interrupted,
as they did 1 week ago.
But this is downright nasty.
It's happened to me about, I would say, a dozen times.
A phrase so dirty, some reporters refer to it by initials.
So the last time I had an F-er in the P, as we call them.
I like F-er in the P better, actually. I think that's lewd.
Sometimes it even happens more than once in the same live shot.
People having their good time on... All right, that's very unfortunate, Tanya. I'm sorry you had to put up with that.
Finally, there came a reporter who wouldn't put up with it outside a soccer game in Toronto.
2-1 is better than...
Hey. City News reporter Shauna Hunt turned from the offender to other guys she suspected.
Were you guys waiting around to see if you could F her in the pee me live on TV?
Yes.
Is that what you were waiting?
It's now a verb. You can F her in the pee me. This is great. I love where this is going.
On TV?
Yes.
Is that what you were waiting?
Not you, but yes.
It's a disgusting thing to say. It's degrading to women. And
you would else are you going to do it?
You would humiliate me on live television?
Not you.
Are
you actually filming this?
Well, because you know what? I'm sick of this. I get this every single day, 10 times a day by rude guys like you.
I'm sick of it.
And then this guy made the mistake of chiming in.
It is hilarious.
He even mentioned a vibrator.
You're lucky there's not a vibrator in here.
If your mom saw you...
my mom would die laughing eventually.
But you know who didn't die laughing? That guy's employer, Ontario's electric provider, Hydro One, fired Sean Simos from his $107,000 a year job, saying he violated the company's code of conduct. Ontario's premier jumped into the fray, tweeting, "Whether or not it's caught on film, sexual harassment at work is no joke."
So it's being combated under sexual harassment.
Yeah, I can see how you can think it was sexual harassment if looked at just technically, I'm guessing it's mostly women stand-ups that end up with this.
No, not only that. No.
There's other. I say mostly. But it's not really sexual harassment.
No, but that's where they're taking it.
Well, that's one way to get rid of it.
I think it's funny. I can't help myself. Not really what's being said. But
well, you probably would have thought it was funny with all the Booyah guys that used to.
Same thing. Baba Booey. Yeah.
Baba Booey. That's what it is.
I wish people would.
Booey.
I wish they would say "F her right in the noagendashow.com." Something like this. Change it up a bit.
Just noagendashow.com would be great. Or in the morning.
In the morning.
Works.
Even that would work. Amen works. Fist bump.
Amen fist bump.
We can even take some credit for that. Final clip. General Hertling, retired, said something. And, of course, these guys are all... there was a name for them. It was pensionatus. Oh, man, I forgot what it was. Guys who are on pension, who retired from the military or intelligence, and except they're still on the payroll.
Pensionistas.
Something like that. I like that the best. Pensionistas. Exactly. So he's one of them. And he just said something pretty interesting in this little CNN clip.
And the federal court just ruled that the way the NSA collects and stores certain data is illegal. So what is the government to do to combat this growing threat of what is social media-inspired terrorism in many ways here at home?
Social media-inspired terrorism.
Well, when you take a look at the decentralized kind of activities that are going on in this organization, there's very little control over these individuals. I think the government is going to have some renewed looks at things like posse comitatus, the Patriot Act.
Comitatus? Sounds like a disease. I got comititis.
I got comititis on my posse. This is not right. He meant posse comitatus. But for him to say that is pretty big.
I guess.
Yeah, if you live in Texas, it is, because, Jade Helm 15. Need I say more?
All right, well, I got one thing just to make sure that that people know that we're following it, which is the Madison, Wisconsin shooting. Okay. Some black guy in some situation. There's kind of a background on it. I don't really have anything to say about it, but it looks to me they're going to try to keep this stirring up the race issues as much as they can.
Sorry.
Madison, Wisconsin police officer will not face criminal charges for fatally shooting an unarmed African-American teenager. Tony Robinson was shot dead in March after Officer Matt Kenny forced his way into an apartment following a disturbance. Kenny says Robinson attacked him upon his entry. On Tuesday, the Dane County District Attorney said an investigation found Kenny was lawful in firing the fatal shots. Robinson's family members say they've been denied justice. This is Robinson's grandmother, Sharon Irwin.
I will miss him the rest of my life when you guys go home and you don't deal with this anymore. This is a forever thing with me. And I just want to say this is politics and not justice.
And why is this not getting a lot of traction?
Because I don't think anyone's burned a building down yet.
Okay.
I think that it could get traction. It could. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that it will. And I think the reason I think it could is because it involves Scott Walker.
Ah, yes, the Dangerous guy.
The dangerous guy. And so you want to do something in his state, which is Wisconsin, to embarrass him and get him to not run for president.
Okay.
Which is, I don't think he should run until 2020, so that's fine with me. And last, there was the meeting that Obama called a summit to discuss with all the Arab leaders to deal with this Iranian agreement. And all of them, except two guys, said, nah, not coming.
Yeah, they kind of snubbed him.
And that's what everyone calls it. But the clip that outlines this is Summit Snub with Shep Smith.
Ooh, lovely to hear Shep.
He did invite the leaders of 6 Mideast nations to come speak with the president and try to work things out. But most of those leaders will not be attending, we now know. Analysts say it's a sign that those countries are worried about U.S. nuclear talks with Iran or mad at the United States. The White House said today, this is not a snub.
Does that number present a snub to the White House? And if not, why not a snub?
I think we've identified the word of the day in the briefing today. We continue to be confident that these are individuals who can represent the interests of their country and implement any commitments that they make in the context of the meeting.
Well, take a look at the wall over here. Only the leaders of Qatar and Kuwait have actually confirmed that they're attending. Officials in Saudi Arabia say the king is too focused on arranging a ceasefire in Yemen. Then there's Oman, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain, which have announced their leaders will not be attending without explaining why. A couple of them, quote, didn't feel like it. And analysts say the ruler of Oman and the United Arab Emirates have been ill.
Yeah.
Important to point out here, those nations are still sending other representatives to this summit, but not the main guy.
Yeah. And what do you think?
It's a snub.
Yeah. Well, of course, they know what's going to happen. They know that once we have a deal with Iran, then they're all going to be under Iran's watch.
That, and there's going to be as we pointed out on the show, the deep theorists say that this is going to allow Iran to get a bomb, so everyone else has to get a bomb, and the whole place just blow itself up, and we get the money, the benefit from the armaments
and the rubleization. The
rubleization is a winner.
Briefly, a couple of big pharma things I'm working on. I find it interesting that we have this story. I think Wired broke it. Cuba has a lung cancer vaccine, and we want to get it. But is cancer a virus now? Has it been deemed? And does the cancer vaccine shoot cancer into you so that you build up your immune system? This is not a vaccine. It may be a shot.
Yeah, maybe it's a drug of some sort, obviously.
Yeah, and what they say is it makes people live, at least 4 months longer or something like that. But it's not a vaccine. This is
no. Otherwise, you'd take it before you got lung cancer.
Yes, it's very poor reporting.
Well, again, we have a group of people. It's like the global warmists. They have no scientific background.
Right.
They don't know the basic terms. They use the word vaccine because the drug companies have decided to use it to exploit the public. The smoking vaccine is a perfect example.
Yes,
remember that?
Yeah. And the anti-cocaine addiction vaccine.
Yeah, it's not a vaccine.
No,
it's a poison.
Yeah, both the cure and the reason. And then a company we need to look out for or have on our radar: Theranos. Theranos. They have this lab test where all it takes is it's a home kit, little finger prick. That's all. No more giving up vials of blood. And then they can scan that which is all secret technology, of course. They can scan that for any number of diseases. And the reason why it caught my eye is their board includes Henry Kissinger. So that would be whenever we see Kissinger on a company's board, you know that you got to pay attention to it.
It's probably some sort of there's probably some sort of poisoning involved.
No, probably not, John.
Yeah, well, he likes to. He's all in on reducing the world's population.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. I mean, you can poo-poo the idea.
Okay. And following in the ICD-10 codes, there is a bill, I think, coming to the floor, HR 2126, short title, Cutting Costly Codes Act of 2015, saying we don't want these codes. It has to be done by October 15th. We do not want these codes to be implemented. It will kill smaller healthcare providers. And so that bill is coming to the floor. But of course, it calls for a study, and eventually it'll be pushed through. Yeah. Let me see who introduced this. Mr. Poe of Texas.
I'm seeing a lot of more stuff they had. I didn't take any clips of it, but Tom Cotton seems to be in the forefront of a lot of news stories now. They're really setting this guy up. And I think what they're trying to do is set him up to run for be the vice president candidate, and then they can out him.
As gay.
And then they can use the hypocrites. The Republicans are hypocrites. It's a good argument.
Totally. I've done something very important. I will hit the jingle for this.
iPhone, schmyphone.
Well, I think we're in big trouble, John, with the web as the Mozilla Foundation. And you will recall that was he the founder, the CEO, who got thrown out because he supported a political campaign against gay marriage? He was squeezed out. He was pushed out.
Yeah.
So
think about gays in this guy.
Yeah, so something's happening there. Then
it was minor too. I don't even think it was really. There was just something.
Well, it was a push. We covered it, and he was pushed out. So there's
he was pushed out.
Yeah, there's a new guy in town. But here's what the Mozilla Foundation announced: they are going to deprecate HTTP and will enforce HTTPS, which on the face of it sounds like, oh, this is a good idea because the Firefox browser in the future will only support quote unquote secure connections. And the way a secure connection is established with a web server is through a certificate that the web server holds, and that certificate is managed by a CA, a certificate authority, so that when you hit this website, it is actually the website that they say it is. The problem is you create this single point of entry for everybody now, and actually it gets much easier because then you're completely trackable through this secure pipe. If the certificate authorities are compromised, quite enough examples of that, certainly with that company in the Netherlands. But the foundation is going to work with a number of other sponsors on Let's Encrypt, where they will become a certificate authority for free. So I think the way it works is you're going to be able to get your CA, which is it's probably a couple $100 a year if you want to have your own certificate on your own web server. And now they are saying, oh, you know what, no problem. We will provide them for free. We'll be the certificate authority. And
is this even necessary? This is bull crap.
It's not only necessary, it's incredibly stupid and it's dumb. It's dumb. And also, does that mean that Internet of Things, I have all kinds of devices that don't have HTTPS. My light system, that's not secure necessarily. So everything has to be changed. And what they're saying is, yeah, it will change eventually, but they're not putting a timeline on it. They're saying, oh, it could be weeks, could be months. We'll see how we do. But we need a new browser company. We need a new browser that doesn't do these things. This is one of the...
Yeah, this is just a bad thought. So the guy was in April of last year. He apparently said didn't like the idea of gay marriage, and that was that.
Yeah, he had supported some anti-gay marriage bill or something. I don't know what
I think he gave money or something. It's hard to see. There's all these articles, but none of them are... So on
the board of
Let's... This guy says has the right to fight gay rights. This is from The Guardian. They get the whole thing wrong. It goes against gays.
Yeah. This is the let'sencrypt.org is part of the Internet Security Research Group, a Section 501c3, who have, I don't know how long they've been in business, but they have $0 reported. They have provided zero information to anyone. So maybe it's just too new. Maybe I can't believe that they wouldn't qualify for the amount where you have to report. Board members, IASRG Executive Director is Josh Ass from Mozilla. We have from Akamai, Cisco, University of Michigan, Mozilla, Stanford Law, CoreOS, and then EFF. So they're all in on this. And I understand that if you self-sign your certificate, that right now if you do that, then Firefox gives you a scary warning, and you can continue if you want. My understanding is it will just not support it at all anymore. If it's if you don't have an officially approved certificate from an authority. Well, what do you mean? They're doing it. What do you mean it's not going to fly?
It's not going to fly.
They're
doing it. They say they're doing it. They can't. They're not going to. It's not going to work because the vast majority of the people that just use the internet or just and there's a lot of websites and others that aren't going to do this. And there's going to be old ladies that are going to click on something. They're going to get this warning. Oh no!
Well, that's what you have now, but it will just break.
Then it won't work. They're going to get customer service calls. You're going to be inundated with this. No, you can't do that anymore. It's changed. Well, I don't get it. It worked yesterday. No, we've changed it. We're going to HTTPS. Huh? HTTPS. What is that? It worked yesterday.
Where are they going to have a problem, John? These old ladies you just spoke of, Mr. Ageist, they're only going to Facebook. Where are they going to find a problem? Nowhere.
They're going to click on one of the links in Facebook.
Yeah, which will be the Guardian or the New York Times.
An old link.
Please. And they'll just give up.
Hey,
they'll say,
it's not working. Son, can you help me? It's not an ageist. I'm just doing what they sound like.
And then the next thing she does is she calls Leo Laporte the tech guy.
Well, that'll solve it. It has all the answers. I enjoy that show.
There you go. All right. All right. Groovy, everybody. We've covered quite a lot of ground today. Hopefully, we can stop with the inflate gates and train derailments. And get on some other stuff. In the meantime, you and I, John, and all of our producers out there, and all the ships at sea and boots on the ground will have their ears and eyes open for anything that is being overlooked. I appreciate you co-producing the show with us. Thanks to our execs. Thanks to all of our financial donors. Because this product is made by us and you for you. You are not the product. Coming to you from a very wet FEMA Region 6 here in the capital of the Drone Star State, Austin, Texas. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from the foraging forest of northern Northwest, Silicon Northwest, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Sunday, right here on No Agenda.
I'm a rule follower, right?
Hands clapping, thumbs up.
Are you a rule follower?
Like poop. Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe.
Amen. Fist bump.
Dvorak.org/NA